Okay, so I'm just gonna play a little bit of Wuthering Waves and answer Charlie's replies. I'm gonna do the Charlie thing first because I don't want him to watch the whole stream in order to see his reply. But I am going to test out and see if I'm alive. Oops. Um, I might be echoing. So it says I'm live here. Am I live on Twitch? Yeah, it says I'm live on Twitch. Yeah, it says I'm live on Twitch. All right. I have to see if I'm live on YouTube though. What's the title? Uh, I just don't like that I can't get the link to my live channel when I go on YouTube mobile. I just don't like that. Why don't Okay, here it is. Testing, 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 testing. All right. Seems to be working. Uh well, I don't really care if people see my email. That's not a surprise. I mean, I believe I have my email up on my YouTube description anyway, so all I care about is you seeing the password to my Wuthering Waves account, but I'm fairly certain no one's able to figure that out. I guess you could brute force it. All right, so I'm just going to finish off the Wuthering Waves weeklies, and then I have Charlie. he wrote a really long reply to my newest video. So instead of just 7 issues I have with Genshin. Took a lot of editing. Video's dead in the water, as expected. But that's relevant to the reply. So this video is dead in the water, but it's relevant to the reply because later on in the comment he mentioned something about wanting to monetize about the WuWa hate train. Monetize the WuWa hate train, but we'll get to that. So, all right, so we agree on divine ingenuity. Hold on, let me check Wuthering Waves here. Oh, I forgot I have to do something. I hate my computer. All right, so glad to see someone else agrees with me. Someone else agrees with me with divine ingenuity. Genshin needs a new game mode. Needs something else other than exploration and the abyss monthly or bi-weekly thing. Just like, I don't know, exploration. It's very time consuming anyway, but divine ingenuity is the perfect game mode for Genshin in my opinion. So he agrees with me on that at least. All right. So my first point was physical damage being abandoned and cryo a little bit being abandoned. And he says, honestly, this thing is more so in general a problem with the implementation of the elemental system, since they can't really change much about it without inherently messing with other characters, aside from increasing numbers, which most wouldn't complain about. Is this true? A problem? So I don't know why it's a problem with the elemental system. Physical isn't really a problem because it doesn't exist within the elemental system. Like, it was their choice to make superconduct a debuff for physical damage, right? To shred physical resistance. But, I mean, they could have made superconduct something else. Physical kind of exists outside of the elemental reaction system, right? Other than that one debuff being there. So, but essentially what he's saying here is that it can't really be reworked. Otherwise, other characters will be affected in how they play, right? So, Eula, Mika, Fremine, Razor to some extent. That's true because I thought about Geo being having at least react differently to like cryo. Like they could add, because cryo lacks a dendro reaction, they could make cryo and Geo react maybe in a different way and just like instead of just crystallize. But that it takes a lot of work because yes, it does make it so that other characters are affected, right? Anyways, adding characters is honestly also more so of a double-edged sword. Now, this is the point I don't entirely agree with. So basically, he's saying as it's basically selling you a solution to a made-up problem. And in the case of Chevreuse, creating another problem, being that you now need a full team with specifically good Electro Pyro units. Wow, this is a long bracketed. As well, oh, there it is. As well as having the general 4-star problems. Okay, well, this is where I don't agree because so I never heard this complaint from Honkai Star Rail players that Acheron was a problem. Acheron being a problem because she was restricted to having 2 other nihilities, unless they sold you the solution, which was getting her E2, in which case you didn't have to run 2 other nihilities, you only had to run 1 other nihility. Now, why I don't agree with this point is because the gacha genre is all about creating problems and making solutions for you to buy. That is essentially, that's not a unique thing to Genshin Impact. It is fundamental in how gacha games, that's how they work, right? So yes, but the thing is, like, team restrictions isn't really a huge deal. Um, like Nilu and Chevreuse are team restrictions, right? But this happens in Hawkeye Star Rail, and you don't hear people complaining about it. And the reason why I reference other games is because, look, it's look, Genshin just gets shit for being Genshin, and that's just true. Like I don't, it's kind of like people think that Genshin is unique in its villainy when it does these things, and it's like, no, it's like it's a gotcha thing, right? I mean, it's not really selling you a solution. It's kind of saying, well, like for instance, in Wuthering Waves. Okay, let's go over Wuthering Waves. So this happens in Wuthering Waves too. Uh, I don't like the argument of they're selling you a character, okay? Because they're also selling you characters in Wuthering Waves. I can't do this. Now you could say, well, I have a skill issue, and the reason why I can't do this is because I have a skill issue, right? But this fight right here, it gives you arrow damage bonus or wind damage plus um, enemies' arrow and electro resistance are reduced, and their fusion and havoc resistance are increased, right? So the thing is, I need my electro team because I don't have Jin C, right? I don't have Jin C or Jin Shi or whatever her name is, and I don't have Jian. So this is way too hard for me, and it's only because of the damage. Like if I go in there with fusion, this boss is insanely his fusion resistance is just crazy. Like I can't beat this guy with my Chang Li and my fusion team. So what's the point? Like I can't do this. There's no real strong arrow DPS in Wuthering Waves except for Jian, and I don't have him. So I could make that argument there that they're selling you the solution, right? And so it doesn't make any sense to me. Now, okay, so he goes on, and the 4-star problem. I mean, that's kind of separate from the C6. They're trying to sell you on C6 for the 4 stars, but honestly, in Wuthering Waves, man, it's just a gotcha thing. That's a gotcha thing, right? Where they want you to get more copies. In my opinion, Mortefi without his C4 kind of sucks. Even in Genshin, Zhang Ling without her C4, kind of not good, okay? Um, Now, I'm not saying it's not really a unique thing to Genshin where they want you to pull for constellations, uh, and also the 4-star problem relating to they're not showing up enough for you to be able to get Chevreuse and stuff like that. But yeah, that is an issue. All right, so my only improvements to this would honestly be to actually add an entire new type of gear. Now, this doesn't make any sense to me because he's saying we'll add a new type of gear or like an extra teammate pet thing like the Bang Booze and Zenless Zone Zero, which would be selling you a solution to another problem. Now, of course, you could say, well, you could just make the Bang Boos like free rolls. You don't actually pay for those rolls, but you're still like implementing something else to fix a problem. And my thing with physical, my argument with physical is that they abandoned it, is that they're not really releasing characters or things like they could release a Chevreuse type character for physical or superconduct, right? And what they could do with that is, or like what they tried to do with Fremine is make Shatter relevant, but like Shatter on Fremine isn't that great. It's not significant enough to matter damage wise. And instead, Fremine is just better in a Hyperbloom team, right? So what they need to add to physical is characters like Chevreuse. That you need this, like, because if you look at every other element in Genshin, the elements, they all there's Chevreuse's. The only reason I mentioned Chevreuse is because she's specific to a reaction, right? But if you're thinking about like the elements, elemental reactions, a character is good in Genshin when they can provide good elemental application as well as their individual damage being significant enough to warrant a team slot, right? And the reason why Chevreuse got implemented is because Overload wasn't really worth building a team around, right? And Chevreuse, before Chevreuse came out, Overload teams, like just specifically an Overload team, it sucked. It wasn't that good. She made Overload. That's the thing, right? Like Overload, it existed, right? And it worked in specific teams like Raiden National, where you're using Shangling, Raiden, and Xingqiu Bennett, where overvape would happen, right? Overload would happen as well because electrocharge applies the vape. Like you can still vape and overload. Anyways, you understand what I'm saying. But so overload, it existed, but specific teams related to overload were bad. Like no one used them before Chevreuse existed. So I'm saying specific teams related to physical in Genshin, only physical. I'm not talking about Fremine, where Fremine, you can use Fremine in a team where it's Hyperbloom and, you know, he's just basically the driver of a Hyperbloom comp. But physical teams in Genshin specifically, if you build around physical, they're not good. Just like how Overload was. So Chevreuse made Overload good, right? So that's unfortunately because like Overload was in a similar situation, right? To physical. So they had to create a character like Chevreuse to make Overload viable in a sense, right? Because there's just better, like, it's just better to run Pyro with Hydro to vape. It was way better than Overload, right? And you're always going to encounter these balancing problems in games like these that have intricate dynamics where meta players are always looking for the most efficient tactic available. Meta, that's what meta means, right? So because meta players are always looking for that, they're going to rule out everything that isn't the highest damage. And so when you create a character like Chevreuse, you are essentially not allowing, you're creating a restriction. I don't think that restriction is bad. Now, I spoke about Acheron. Acheron herself, I didn't say she was bad. I just said I heard no complaints. And why is that? Because I mean, Acheron is completely broken, super strong because of her scalings and all that. Like on her ultimate, it was crazy. But it's because the restrictions didn't hurt. Like it created a new style of play, right? So you, with Acheron, you could bring in like nihility characters that weren't great. Like they weren't just like, you could have a Sampo, or you could have, Gwenithan or whatever, her name was. You could have them on the team, and um, because Acheron allowed for it, just like Chevreuse, okay? Chevreuse, you don't have to have the best Pyro or Electro characters with Chevreuse. When I make a Chevreuse team, of course, I bring Arlecchino because, I mean, Arlecchino herself is very strong, but the thing is, I don't run Bennett with that team because, first of all, I'm starting to get bored of Bennett. Like Bennett's circle impact, okay? I hate relying on the circle because I just don't, enemies run around all the time now. And so I bring Chevreuse, Arlecchino, and 2 Electro. So I have Fischl, and then I have Beidou. Usually I use Beidou. And the team is still strong enough to function. I can still clear content. I can still 36 star the Abyss. So that's what physical needs. It needs a Chevreuse. Why? Because in the grand scheme of things, physical itself is not good. Like focusing your team around physical itself is not good. So therefore, if you have a character that when you focus your team around physical, just like Chevreuse focused around overload, when you implement that character, it's going to make the reaction stronger, eliminating the need or the thought process that, well, does this character deserve a slot? Because in a Chevreuse team, you can't consider other elements deserving a slot, right? And that's what makes meta so. I mean, that's the whole concept of meta, is how valuable is that slot to that character, right? So, anyways, this way you can add in cool little additions to them by how the current active character functions on the team, so they could modify what happens when you freeze an enemy. Okay, that's a good idea, but you can make a character that does that, right? You can make a character that modifies how Shatter works or how Superconduct works, right? You can make a character. You don't have to add a separate thing like a Bang Boo, like for instance in Zenless Zone Zero, or I know what he's getting at, like an Echo in Wuthering Waves, right? Because he likes this thing, right, where you get a little extra ability. Most Echoes aren't good. Like the time doing that is not worth whatever you get from it. But now, okay, so with this, you could technically also add something like mounts or better traversal. Don't want mounts. That's a personal thing, but Charlie really goes on about better traversal. I don't know. I think this is my personal opinion, but I think he doesn't like open world games and traversing them. Like I just personally, like, it doesn't matter. Like, let's say there's a chest up there on the top of that hill, right? It's a one-time chest. I can only open it once. Does it really matter to me if I can go there in like 10 seconds or 5 seconds? Like if we're measuring things on the matter of like 5 seconds, I don't know, man. I just don't like this traversal argument. Like imagine literally just a pet that just gives you stamina would be simple enough. Sure. I mean, it's fine. It could work, but I don't know. They could just make an item or a gadget or something, right? That just gives stamina or something. Or or they could enhance some cool mechanics in combat. Basically, a new edition like this could very easily fix a lot of common issues without directly interfering with existing characters. Well, I mean, you would just be creating another meta of which pet is the best, right? Because I mean, that's what essentially happened in Wuthering Waves. And what happened in Wuthering Waves is with Echoes is where is it? You see Jouet? Jouet's just better than what's this? This thing is garbage now. Like who uses this? There's no, as far as I know, there's no point, especially on Jinshi. You don't use this guy. You use this. You use Jouet. So it creates a meta. Like regardless of if you're adding something in that's going to be a long-term feature, there's going to be a meta created behind it, right? Like Echoes are going to have a meta. Once they release better, like right now, I mean, this thing kind of sucks. The reason why it sucks is because it takes so long. You're taking so much time to use this thing that you would rather just like why would it? So you're creating a meta anyways. All right. Anyways, my argument is that Chevreuse is not a bad thing. The only way to really create something that's anti-meta is to imply some restrictions. Because in a land where there's no restrictions, meta forms, and essentially it just boils down to the best possible situation to use whatever character, whatever team build is the best. And yeah, I mean, unless there's restrictions, meta is just going to run wild. All right, so 1 point for the 4 stars, besides availability, is honestly how most after 1.0 aren't really that great. Disagree. Most, I mean, the context of what? Because most 4 stars are like that were released after 1.0 are like sub DPS or sub support, right? Because there's 4 team slots in Genshin. It's not 3. It actually makes a big difference if there's 4 or 3 team slots. And there being 4 team slots means you can have your buffer support, you have your main carry, and then you have essentially 2 sub supports, right? Now, yes, they're not like Zhang Ling or Fischl or Bennett or Xing Cho, but they can be they're I would say half, not most, or some specifically only at C6. Well, like I said, I mean, even Zhang Ling before C4, it's there's a difference between C4 and C6, sure, but Zhang Ling before C6 or before C4 kind of blows, in my opinion. Like she's not great. Um, which with the availability problem is honestly more expensive to get than a simple 5 star in this at this point. Kuki's fine before C6 though. Like Kuki's fine at like C. Chevreuse is even fine at C0. Um, Kuki is like C2. She gets a lot better, but she still works in her Hyperbloom focus. That she's a Hyperbloom support, right? And Yao Yao, yeah, that are good at their base kit. Yeah, okay, he said that. Without needing a lot of other investment like constellations. Now, Toma, he says, only really great in burning teams. That's not true. Toma was Burgeon. Anyways, it's not too big of an argument. Like, Toma was a Burgeon carry ever since Dendra released. And he's better at Burgeon than a lot of characters, actually. Yo, what's up? Edis Adis Levitness and Cookie, what's up, man? 4 stars. 4 stars should get equal presence in banners. Then being viable or not should be a point of concern. Yeah, that's my point. I agree with you there, Adis, that it doesn't matter if a 4 star is viable because, okay, we're arguing from a meta perspective, but I don't really care about meta personally. I don't think a lot of people care about meta because that's a discussion for. Look, if you like a character, like you're gonna want to play and focus in building that character, right? For Daya, she was hated since release. I built Daya. I made a team focused around Daya, and I 36 started a lot of abysses with Daya in the team. So, I mean, you could argue saying, well, I brought Kazuha and Bennett for Daya, but okay, well, even if I was playing my meta DPS character, I would still be bringing Kazuha and Bennett, right? So it's just crazy when people argue with meta sometimes like that. It's like, uh, one of the arguments I heard about Eula a long time ago was she's just too high investment, right? And then the people that would be saying that, it'd be like streamers talking about, oh well, Eula's too high of an investment character. Like you need to farm perfect artifacts, and you need all these other things, and you need like um, you need to make sure she's level 90, which was a crazy art. This was way back before when Eula first released, and I'm like, why is that even an argument? If you're building a main DPS character, it doesn't matter who they are. They have to be like level 90. They have to be. You have to level their talents, okay? And so the argument towards Eula was like her investment is too high. And then these same streamers, they'd get on their Ayaka, and their Ayaka team would be uh, Ayaka. What was it? Ayaka, Mona, or Kazuha, and like it would be 4 or 5 star characters. So it's like, what are you talking about? High investment? You're like, and Eula ran with like official, like 4 stars, right? And it's like, man, sometimes meta just gets overblown, anyways. And that's why I think like it doesn't matter. Like Kave sucks. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Like Kave is not very good, but he should show up more on banners. Like Kave should show up way more on banners because like some people like Kave out there or whatever. Like I don't know. Some people just want to have fun with the game and build their character that's not very good. So you give them more reasons to want to pull. I don't want to see Shang Ling on the banners. I have Shang Ling because I'm playing for a long time, but I just don't want to see her. It's just a waste of rolls, honestly. Because I would rather get constellations for a character that's not very good, so that I can, when I use that character, maybe they're not as bad as they would be if they're not showing up on the banners that much, right? So, all right. Anyways, yeah, 4 stars should show up more often on banners. It doesn't matter of how strong they are. Yeah, I'm triple crown Daya enjoyer. It's based, man. I triple crown Daya. I triple crown Eula, which was, I really liked her back in the day. But it's hard to face reality that I can't 36 star a lot of abysses with her anymore. Um, Even like I don't want to run her in Hyperbloom. It's just pointless. Like why would I run Eula in Hyperbloom? I could run someone else in Hyperbloom. So if I build a Eula team, I want to build her physical focused, right? Because that's but it's very hard to 36 star abysses with Eula now. So all right. So this comment number 3. All right. So he doesn't like the commissions being tied to daily quests, right? This one is honestly kind of meh. I get that you didn't really want to cover that's already being big discussed things, but I feel like this thing, such as it's hard to 100% all daily missions, is not really something even 1% of the community would have too many troubles with. okay, sure, there's not many completionists, but you know, I'm not just going to talk about loadouts for the right. Like I'm not just going to say, hey, well, loadouts. You know how many other people are talking about loadouts, right? It just doesn't make me like. Why would I talk about that? So okay, sure. My expectations, especially when showing Festering Desire, was honestly that you were talking about unique event rewards or even just event stories not being obtainable. So they did mention that eventually this is going to happen. They said that eventually they're going to somehow figure out a way for there to be event stories that are replayable somehow. Maybe you can like download them, and once you're finished them, then you can get them off your device, so it saves space. I guess I don't know, but um, the stuff like Festering Desire and limited weapons that just don't, you can't get them anymore. I don't know. I mean, I think it's FOMO, right? I mean, that's the gotcha thing. That's just what happens in gotcha, right? It's kind of like, do we want gotcha to just only be about pulling characters and siphoning us of money through the wish system, right? Like, it's a form of FOMO anyway, like limited time banners. Um, Wuthering Waves is starting their reruns pretty early, so I don't know. I mean, eventually there's going to be so many characters that it's just a gotcha thing. There's no point in arguing that. Like, it's all up to them, right? If they want to bring back Festering Desire, then what can you do? If they're not going to ever bring it back, then there's, I don't know. It's just FOMO, right? I mean, it sucks, but maybe don't play the gotcha genre, I guess. Like, I'm waiting for Shenhe. Shenhe hasn't rerun. It's been years. It's been almost 2 years since Shenhe's. Gotcha is about collecting characters first and foremost. It's basically the whole waifu husbando mindset. Meta says nothing about a character's story personality, and this is a story-based game. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people. That's when they moved to Wuthering Waves, right? Because Genshin wasn't satisfying them with combat enough. So, and Wuthering Waves is more about combat and focus, right? And yes, there's waifus and husbandos, and there's more waifus, right? But I think a lot of people fail to realize why Genshin is popular, or they just fail to accept that that's reality. I mean, that's a different thing, right? Like maybe they understand why it is popular, but they're like, that's not valid enough, and that's not why I would play Genshin. So they can't understand, like, okay, the game's popular because it has appealing characters, even though the characters don't appeal to you or the story doesn't appeal to you. That's why it's popular. It's an adventure game. It's a RPG. You're experiencing um, a story, like a shared collective story. But anyways, uh, so yeah, come back to, I guess they could increase the odds of specific daily quests you haven't done or haven't done in a long while. But honestly, specific completionist tasks like these are always barely something many people were like actively questioning or requesting for, especially with the addition of encounter points. Yeah, I mean, because encounter points, people just skip commissions anyways, right? But the thing is, with the specific commission I was talking about, I mean, I realized was the world quest is called Battle of Revenge. I didn't realize that till after editing the audio, but the commission is called like an art to be honed. But they stopped doing that. They stopped doing it um, in Natlan for sure. There's no more commissions that are tied to quests opening up, and they realized that was an issue. But they should roll back that thing because I don't want to set my daily commissions to Inazuma for another 2 years. It's stupid. I think it's the worst for me. This was the worst thing in Genshin for me. The I waited so long for this commission to pop, and I'm like, fuck, man, I hate this. So I just stopped. Like I just gave up. I might go back and see if it'll pop again, but I don't know. All right, so this one is really specific, though obviously a more accessible gear and character system is always a good thing, and is honestly something Genshin was lacking behind, even now with the weapon banner changes, honestly. I honestly don't think that adding these to the shop, though, would really cause legal trouble, as all it does is make them more accessible to players. But that's the thing with China, we don't know. With China, they might roll back, like they might consider it, um, like when you give a free character away, it might be considered different than being able to obtain that character, because essentially like the 5-star stuff is limited to a certain time period, right? And if you put the stuff on the shop, like the standard banner 5 stars weapons in the shop to be exchangeable, right? Like this was implemented early on, right? So China just has weird laws, man, with gotcha stuff, because someone could have sat there at the beginning of Genshin and like gone to the weapon banner and be like, "Well, I'm just rolling until I get Wolf's Gravestone R5, and it doesn't matter how much money I spend. I'll just keep hitting this button till I get the R5 Wolf's Gravestone for my D-Luke." At when Genshin launched, right? And so you think back to that person, right? If this system was already implemented at the start of Genshin's inception, they could have saved a lot of money, right? So I don't know. It's speculation on my part, but retroactively acting the system, uh, giving us, but like if they gave it away for free, that could be different, because if you give something away for free, like a limited or like a 5-star character for a limited amount of time, like in the anniversary, for instance, and it's not always available to people, then it might fall under a different rule. I'm just saying, CN gotcha laws are weird. They were so worried about the Nouvellette rollback that they gave us a free 10 pull and like an apology immediately. So you have to understand, like, they realized far too late that Nouvellette, I think personally, Nouvellette is way too strong a character. That's just my opinion, but the game can't be balanced around Nouvellette ever, right? So that's why I'll never roll for him, because he's just too strong a character. So, but the rollback threat, like the threat from the CN player base, it was serious enough for them to be like, immediately roll it back, and they gave us a free 10 pull to shut us up, or to shut the CN players up, and then we got it by consequence. So, like, gotcha laws in CN are really weird. So that's all the reason I was saying that it could happen. Like, it could be a thing. That's why they're not implementing it. It's speculation. I don't know. Same way, improving a weapon banner just made the weapons more accessible. The reason the Nouvellette change was a problem in comparison was because it specifically made an already bought unit specifically worse in the game. Sure, um, but the same could be argued for. You could see that as spending money. Then it's like people regret their purchase of Nouvellette, right? Because Nouvellette got worse, or more like he's just not right. So it's like a regretful purchase, or like, I don't know. It's not exactly the same thing. What I'm saying is, um, because if they retroactively added the 5 stars into the shop, then it's like, well, I wasted a lot of money when I first started playing Genshin, or to get my Wolf's Gravestone to rank 5 or R5 or whatever. So it's like, it could be sort of the same, but I understand the Nouvellette thing was, you know, increasing the power of something is usually accepted. So technically, that's just what power creep is. So my point number 5 was adding in the 10 pull. The 10 pull, he doesn't have any problems with the 10 pull. Yes, they should just add it in. I don't know why Genshin is not doing it. They need to do that because, and I know people, they're going to hate me for saying this, but even if they don't give us a lot of, like in Genshin, we get like depending on the patch, but it's usually like 65 to 80 wishes that we get per patch on average, right? It depends on the patch. And then like a nation release with the anniversary or um, Lantern Rite will be a little bit more. It'll be like 90 or 100 wishes, right? We get. So, but even if they don't increase the amount of wishes in Genshin that they give us per patch, they should still do the login bonus. They should stop. They should extract it from whatever else and put it into this. And why that is because people just want free shit without having to do the work. Okay, and it's just better. You just like some people just want to log in, get their free temple, and not have to go around and look for chests and stuff. It's better all around. Like it just doesn't make any sense why they're not doing it every patch, right? Um, that's something that they can totally change, and they should. And he doesn't disagree with me. So, um, is it a huge deal? I mean, for a lot of people, it is a huge deal. I mean, I'm going to do the content regardless, uh, but some people just want. It's just better. This is better, anyways. I mean, you can't really argue that. So my point number 6 was about exploration. Okay. Generally, I would say that the main hooks of the game are the story and the exploration, and the team building, management, and only slightly really combat. Okay, so this I have to disagree with. I argued this point with another streamer in his chat. The streamer was saying, I kept saying to him, well, okay, the streamer was saying he's a Zenless Zone Zero streamer. And he kept saying, well, I don't like Genshin's combat, but he was playing it for Natlin and, because Natlin was like hyped up. But he's like, I don't really like Genshin's combat. It kind of sucks. And then I'm saying, yeah, okay, well, that's your choice, I guess. And then he was saying, but he kept saying that people don't really play Genshin for the combat. Now, I have to disagree. Even if you don't like the combat, why is meta such a big thing? Ziox gets so many, like, is that team building? I mean, not really, because the whole point of these meta channels and like, Zajef, Ziox, which character to pull for, is Jalon and good? You know what I mean? Like, because they want the strongest character, right? And it directly relates to combat in some way, right? I mean, the experience of playing the combat, no, they want to clear the Spiral Abyss, they want to do bigger numbers. I mean, could you argue if it all relates to combat in some way, right? Even team building relates to combat. So you can't really say that team building is different from combat itself, because it relates to it in some way. You could say, well, then HSR, you could argue that HSR has no combat if you don't say there's any team building. Like literally HSR has no combat. If you say that team building does not relate to combat and is somehow separate, then it doesn't make any sense to me, because so even if you don't like the combat in Genshin, there's a lot of people that do. There's a lot of people that pull for meta. The only reason they pull a character is to do bigger numbers. And yeah, so anyways, he goes on to say team building is kind of a meh of a hook, as it's for the most part just basically grinding. That's not really, I mean, okay, so you're talking about character building like an RPG. That's stats. That's team building is your team building is like searching for different characters that will boost your overall power so it's like you can replace like Jalonin, right? She's good because she found a place in the meta and she slots into certain teams, right? So but grinding for the most part, I mean, talk about grinding, there's lots of grinding in Wuthering Waves, right? Now, and I would more so say about the story and the exploration is that they're only one-time things. Okay, that's true. Specifically about story, an entire Archon chapter is oftentimes only around 10 hours. Uh, I'd say a little bit more, but yeah, maybe like 12, 12 hours, maybe. Depends. I'd actually say it's more like 15 hours. Because if you look at Fontaine, um, part one and two, act one and two is about 5 hours. Act three and four is about 5 hours in Fontaine. And then act five is like 3.5, 4 hours. So it all depends, but yeah, I mean, it's not a significant amount of time. It's, we're just arguing a couple of hours here, but when that is basically the main hook for an entire year, there isn't really much else to do that the game focuses on. This isn't to say that they should just increase the quantity, but more so that the general problem is having one time story be the main hook in a live service game, as that basically just makes it more extended and more extended anime at this point. Okay, I agree with this point to a degree. Let me just read the comments on what they're saying in chat here. All right, so I'm gonna scroll up. I like reading comments. I don't want to just ignore the chatters. Every game should have a unique item that's not obtainable by everyone, just like when you play an MMO. So I was relating MMOs or gotcha games to modern day MMOs. And I think I'll honestly make a video about that because MMOs were kind of like that, where you have these like exclusive items where exclusive piece of armor or a weapon that nobody else had. And MMOs are kind of like they focus on building up character stats, right? Like to have the best weapon and the best armor and gear, and like making sure you have like the best stats, right? So you can do the most damage, and that's what MMOs were about. So it's kind of like a gotcha, like modern day gotcha, right? Except the only difference with gotcha games, and it's still like a shared experience, right? Where like people in gotcha communities, they want to experience the story with each other. They want to, talk about the characters and kits and builds and boss fights and stuff like that. But the biggest difference between gotcha games is you play the game alone. You don't play with other people, and you don't have to wait for other people to do like a dungeon or the content, right? So that's modern day MMOs kind of, or modern day gotchas are kind of like the new MMOs, honestly, because except for you're just removing that having to play with other people aspect, right? So to be honest, some of those daily quest chains that give achievements, they may as well just be regular quests, not gated by daily luck. Um, yeah, they should retroactively remove that system in Genshin because it's stupid. But like, I mean, he was honestly right. Like most people don't care about completing everything, every single thing in these games, like every single achievement. But it's dumb for achievement hunters, right? It just sucks. Didn't they increase the odds already? I think it was something during 4.x. I guess it works only with ones having achievements. Um, yeah, they increased the odds. I don't know why. Uh, I don't know why it's not working when I set my quests to Inazuma, like in Fontaine, pretty much all of Fontaine. When I realized Fontaine doesn't really have any quests that unlocked, or I got them all already, the commissions that unlocked something. Then I set it back to Inazuma, and it wasn't popping for me still. But anyways, at this point, it's like you know, right, every limited character came with a clause stating it's only available in limited time event, right? Adding them to the shop or standard better, setting up self to be sued. Yeah, like I said, gotcha. CN gotcha laws are different, right? Genshin combat and its elemental reaction is revolutionary. One of the main reasons people still play it. I mean, you have to admit that Genshin, when it first came out, people loved the combat, right? People loved it. People were, I mean, it was the bee's knees, man. It was the shit. Okay, that was a boomer phrase, but like people loved Genshin combat when it first came out. Okay, they loved the elemental reactions. They loved, doing like it was huge. I mean, people views the videos and stuff. So yeah, the reaction system is the reason I'm way more interested in Genshin's team building than other games like Aether Gazer. I haven't played Aether Gazer, so I'm not sure. Um, so my take on Genshin's combat is, I wow. Genshin's combat. Do I still like Genshin's combat? Now, I'm not hesitating to say yes or no because it's, like I'm unsure. But I would say the thing I like more about Genshin's combat is how modular it is. Like, because I have so many characters in Genshin, um, I can build so many different teams, but it's modular in a sense that I can use characters that aren't often used. Um, because honestly, the strengths of certain characters in Genshin, they complement the weaknesses of others. So what I mean by that is, Yaimiko, she's not that great of an electro character. Like honestly, Fischl is better in a lot of teams. Um, because like setting up Yaimiko's totems aren't that great. Takes a long time. The damage difference is negligible between her and Fischl. So, but characters like Yaimiko, she works great with Tainari, right? So honestly, you'd want to use Yaimiko with Tainari. So Tainari, because the dis like I don't know exactly why she works better with Tainari, but it's something like, the distance of the totems. They're better, and she just works better with elemental mastery builds, I think, as well. Or no, Official's fine with that too. But yeah, like, so there's a lot of that going on in Genshin where even characters like Farina released, and um, she boosted characters. Like she just boosted all these healers that were kind of irrelevant. Like Jean didn't see much play, except for like in Sunfire comps. And then all of a sudden, Jean is like pretty good now because Farina exists. Noelle got boosted. Like Noelle was like okay Geo DPS. And then all of a sudden, there's like a Noelle just like popped off because you can put Farina in the team now, and you don't need a healer because Noelle is the healer, right? So it's like, um, I mean, you never really needed a healer, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, so they do a good job in Genshin with characters sometimes making older units more relevant, and the team building. I just like individual characters a lot in Genshin. I don't know. I just like Daya. Um, Daya's probably going to get curb stomp power crept by Mavuika though, but Mavuika is probably going to like crush Daya into the ground. I think. um, but anyways, that streamer might be a new player, so he's not hitting the point where he start to think about rotation and reaction. Yeah, he never really got into Genshin that much. He just played it for Natlan's story. That's it. He didn't, but he never really cared about the combat. And I was trying to tell him, I was saying like, well, even though you don't like the combat, or you may think the combat's not that good, there's still a lot of people that play for the combat, right? Genshin is the only game where I can take a character and cook up a team. Any other game will have objectively strongest teams. Here, reactions let me change the dynamic and craft something unique. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different, like Genshin. The best thing about Genshin team building and combat is that it's really, really modular, right? Like there's so many different team comps that are viable. There's just so many different ways to build teams in Genshin. That's probably its biggest strength is how modular it is. So because of how the reactions work, we can cook up a lot of viable teams, not just stuck with national or international. Yeah, I haven't used rational or international. I haven't used them in a long time, just because I have so many different options now, and yeah, like I don't use like before when I was like struggling to clear Abyss and trying to get 36 stars, I was using Raiden Raiden National and um because it was like I was really concerned with like I couldn't do it with any other team. And now that I have more options and more teams and characters, I haven't used Raiden National in forever. Like I can't even remember the last time I used Raiden National to clear Abyss. Like now I use like Risley and Farina, and I mean sometimes I'll use Raiden, but she'll be in like a Hyper Bloom comp, right? Whereas before I only used Raiden in Raiden National, and now she has different options, right? And that's the thing about loadouts, okay? The thing about loadouts in Genshin and why they're wanted is because team building and even character building is so modular. Like take a character for Raiden, for instance. You can build Raiden on her damage build as a carry in Rational, where she's more focused on crit rate, crit damage, and right, and then providing the ER in Rational, or you can change up her setup completely, and then she becomes a Hyper Bloom carry, where she's built around Elemental Mastery, right? And the reason why people want loadouts is because, well, what if I want to switch between the two? But that just so a lot of people when they talk about loadouts in Genshin, it's only a testament to how modular Genshin is in regards to its character building and team building. You're only talking about when you talk about loadouts, and the reason why you don't hear people talk about loadouts in other games is because they're not as modular. They're not as modular. They usually just have one artifact set or relic set or whatever it's called in that particular game that is the best in slot for that particular character. And you're not really building. There's not really that modularity with the relics or the relic artifact equivalent, right? Like in this game, Shorekeeper, she just uses this set. Okay, there's no reason to use another set. There is no other set. Even if another set came out, I can't see how that set would be better, or why would you need to switch between the two? Because usually it's just about meta. But like if you're talking about a character like Daya in Genshin, if you talk about Daya, you could build her for her skill damage, right? You could build her for her burst damage if you're going to play her as a hyper carry. You can build her as a burning support for Kanich, as a Deepwood holder. So your Emily could have the burning set, 50% more damage, and Daya is supporting Kanich and Emily with her Deepwood. So that's 3 different builds just for Daya. That's incredible modularity. Like that's crazy. Like right? So it's like that's a testament to how modular Genshin is. Oh yeah, Raiden Overload with Chevreuse is my favorite team comp. With Chevreuse, I've been using a lot. I use for some reason I haven't tried Raiden yet. I should try more team comps with Chevreuse. Um, Man, I should really install Genshin on this computer. I just don't have any space, man. I don't. Fuck. I really need to get another hard drive so I can install more stuff. And then making videos is ruining my hard drive. But I should really try. I want to install Genshin on this computer so I can stream Genshin. And but I've been using Arlecchino. My go-to Chevreuse overload team is Arlecchino, Fischl, Beto, and Chevreuse. I don't even use Bennett. I'm getting tired of Bennett's Circle Impact. Okay, like Bennett's cool, fine. I'll use him when I need to, but I kind of don't want to use Bennett that much anymore. But Chevreuse, the Arlecchino team, Arlecchino's super strong, but it works. I cleared a 36-star Abyss with it, and Beto, not the strongest, but she works. But I do want to try different teams for like using Raiden and Overload. I guess it'd be cool. Um, Also, I just want to add that Genshin's more slower and impactful approach to combat is also a nice aspect. One of the very few games where it's not just spamming lightning fast attacks. Um, yeah, I mean, is this? I don't know, man. is this game even lightning fast attacks? It's kind of slow. Like look at Withering Waves. Like this isn't lightning fast, right? It's like that third punch set is an animation. That's just one button click, right? So like Wuthering Waves is not that fast, I don't think. Um, I think a lot of people just it's weird because they talk about combat. It's like Genshin is not that difficult, but Wuthering Waves is not that difficult, man. Like for at a certain point, you get used to the combat. There's only really one hard boss in Wuthering Waves. Like okay, so this boss, uh, this bird boss of difficulty level 6, this wasn't hard. The only reason it was hard is because I needed level 90 characters at the time, right? I'm gonna turn on my AC. Sorry for the sound effects, but it's getting hot in here. Maybe I want to hear. Maybe that sounds bad on stream though. Hold on. Okay. Well, do you guys hear the? Is there a problem with the mic? But like Wuthering Waves combat, it's hard. But this boss, it wasn't that hard. It's not hard. Um, the ape boss, the monkey boss, this wasn't that hard. I just needed to have built characters to deal enough damage. That's all. And then you dodge some stuff. Like there's only really one hard boss, in my opinion, in Wuthering Waves, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset at this. The most difficult boss in Wuthering Waves, and I think the most only really challenging one, is the Tempest Memphis. Uh, number difficulty 6 in particular. Like every other boss in Wuthering Waves is like okay, challenge worthy, but it's not that hard. It's not. So it's like Genshin. I mean, I've had to adjust things. Like I was doing okay, I'm not going to lie. I mean, 36 star in the Abyss, it's not that hard, but it's mostly because my account is pretty good in Genshin. Um, but yeah. Also, Yaimiko, like Beto, has a unique aspect that they can only apply Electro without triggering, well, that they can apply Electro without triggering Hyperbeam. Was something I needed when building a Kave team that blooms and quickens, but not Hyperbeam. Riding Overload with Charus is my favorite team comp right now. Yeah, I read that. I have 3 sets of artifacts for Data. One for sub DPS, 2 for specific support role. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I played Dea mostly as a main DPS, so I didn't really build a lot of her support stuff. Um, I wish I could log into Genshin right now because I don't really want to play Wuthering Waves right now. But I have to. I need to do the weeklies and stuff. I should finish this comment though. So about exploration. All right, Divine Ingenuity. That's the best event in Genshin. We need that, but seriously, I really don't get why there hasn't been much repeatable content in the game. Most interesting modes are basically FOMO time gated for events. The only permanent ones are kind of lacking or not too interesting for many people. Many people don't play the card game or use the teapot. So, this is not true. The card game, for some reason in China, is fairly popular. Like, apparently they like the card game in China. And if China likes it, it's going to stay, okay? So yeah, the TCG in Genshin is popular in China, apparently. I mean, it's not super popular, but it's like a lot of people like it. So, I mean, we don't like it. I'm not a fan of the TCG. I mean, I collect it because I collect stuff in Genshin, but yeah, I mean, it's getting a little bit better, but the TCG still has problems with it, in my opinion. But the teapot, yeah, I don't know. Some people use the teapot. I don't think it's big, which is by itself an annoying restriction due to grinding and object limits. The Spiral Abyss is just a mostly DPS check, which with a game like Genshin and its combat really just is just 95% a stat check. It's not true. So yes, there's stat checks, but you can optimize. I mean, action combat in general, you can't say that you will do the perfect rotation every single time, right? It's like you can optimize even without like there was a fight in Genshin or an Abyss in Genshin that I did recently where I wasn't able to clear and I needed to shave like 10 seconds off. And I'm thinking, is it the team comp? It was a Clorinde team. I was running Clorinde and Yao Yao, Kazuha, and Fischl. And I'm thinking, do I change the team comp? But instead of changing the team comp, I just played better. And I was able to shave off 10 seconds. So there's still things like that. Like it's not Genshin is not. I feel like when people talk about Genshin, they're like, it's completely brain dead. That you don't have to think at all, right? That's what I don't like about the arguments against Genshin is like, it's kind of like Wuthering Waves is like 10 out of 10. You have to be like a genius to figure out the combat. Whereas Genshin, it's like, you just press the button, you don't have to think. You don't have to think. It's like, that's just not true, right? And I mean, with HSR, that's true. I mean, it's like they're trying to say that Genshin is like an auto battle where there's no optimization, it's only stats. But that's more true in Honkai Star Rail, where the optimization in Honkai Star Rail is the stats. You have to focus on building stats first in Honkai Star Rail. And there's less of an RNG factor in combat. But the RNG factor is optimization is your play. Like how well are you performing the rotation, right? Whereas in Wuthering Waves, yes, you have to do, there is the rotation and then you have to dodge, but you have to take into consideration, like even, like I'll just do this fight, I won't do max difficulty, but I'll do this, right? So in Wuthering Waves, so I'm fighting this boss, but I have to dodge, right? And that takes away from the time, right? If I don't dodge, I'm going to die. So regardless, it's like you still have to do these things. It's just another level. It's another thing you have to think about, right? Whereas in Genshin, sometimes you don't have to dodge because you can sacrifice your HP in order to deal more damage. But if this fight was max difficulty, this is only difficulty level 3, although because I'm not dying in 1 or 2 hits. But if this was max difficulty, I have to dodge. So it's still an optimization in the way you play, right? It's like I can improve my rotation for damage, but at the same time, it's like I feel like it's being overblown, right? It's being overblown. Certain statements. I don't know, man. Maybe I just play video games too much, and it's like, okay, well, it's not really that hard. It's just something. It's just a pattern you have to memorize. Honestly, I feel like people get too hell-bent on patterns in video games, and they're like, well, this one's difficult, this one's not. I mean, if you want a really difficult game, go play Ninja Gaiden Black. That's a really difficult game. Or go play Tohu, right? It's like, those games are like super hard, right? So anyways, I want to get out of here. I don't want to do this fight. Okay, so as you can't really improve the skills in a rotation by much. I mean, that's according to who, I don't know. I mean, and the Imaginarium Theater is kind of just an enhanced Spiral Abyss, just with more restrictions for pulling. So Imaginary Theater, look, I'll admit it's not that great. Um, it's fine now. It's better with the Visionary mode. Um, but yeah, I don't want another piece of content to be on that cycle. I don't want there to be something like Honkai Star Rail did. It's where they had Memory of Chaos and then Pure Fiction, and then they slotted in something else. I want there to be a new mode that is separate from Abyss and Theater. Okay. So, anyways, repeatable content doesn't even have to specifically try to cater to all, but as long as they add enough, it will keep the majority occupied with something fun to do. Not everyone likes the rhythm game, but people who will do it will like it. Not everyone likes the dungeon builder, but people who will do it will like it. They already have all of these modes, so it's just kind of questionable why they don't make them permanent, aside from FOMO reasons and recycling content. I agree. Why don't they make some of these modes permanent? They just should. They should, right? But is it a gotcha thing, right? It's like I don't know, man. I think some of these I think that's just a crappy thing about gotcha, honestly. Um, but Genshin, unfortunately, they're not adding in modes that a lot of people want, right? Where TCG, um, it would have been like it's not a big success in the West, right? And Teapot player housing, I'm not really a fan of because like I'm not going to invite people to my house in Genshin. No one's going to care, honestly. Like they would care about doing co-op boss battles. That's more important, right? That's like I don't know. They really need to add a new mode that's just combat focused or character focused. See, Genshin. The thing with Genshin is, I think a game mode like Divine Ingenuity is better because it also incorporates platforming, where you're platforming, so it's all about like avoiding obstacles and you know the jumps and the gliding to different platforms and stuff. It's like that's just better, honestly. It's something different from just pure combat. You can also put in combat though. So like once you're doing this obstacle course, and then in the middle of doing the obstacle course, there's like a section where you have to fight a boss, right? So that's why Divine Ingenuity was perfect, in my opinion. It's a perfect piece of content because you can build a custom dungeon, and even the custom dungeon that you can build, other people could play it. It just makes Genshin into more. It kind of adds. We were talking about modularity, and one of Genshin's combat's strengths being modularity. Why not have a game mode that's about modularity? That you can build different dungeons. You can have different people experience your dungeon. It's gonna be better than the teapot because who cares about going to someone's teapot and looking at their house? There's nothing to do. There's nothing to interact with, right? I mean, you're just looking at their house and you're like, oh, cool, it's built really nice and stuff like that. But when you're talking about something like Divine Ingenuity as a game mode in Genshin, you can go to their custom dungeon and actually interact with the content and play the game, right? So that's why, in my opinion, that's the best game mode for Genshin to add because no other gotcha game is doing it. Number one, they said they were going to come out with a UGC thing. There was that hiring post. Hopefully, that's true sometime in the near future. And it just adds to Genshin being more modular of a game, where the team building's modular. Then you have this mode where you can build stuff. I mean, you still have the teapot. It's not like it's going to go away, right? And then you have TCG for the people who like that. They should add in. Yeah, I agree with him. Like the rhythm stuff, a lot of people like the rhythm game. Sure, add it in. I'm not really a fan of it, but I'm not going to be opposed to the rhythm game because I know people like it. So just add it in, right? and then add in uh yeah, just add in some game modes that are modular and people will like it, right? Like, anyways, just like the Divine Ingenuity event, having different game modes for different demographics is great. And one of the reasons I respect Hoyo's work on Genshin so much, yeah, like, yeah, like they honestly, the thing with, I think what frustrates people about Genshin not adding in some of these game modes to be permanent is because they were fairly well done. Like some of those rhythm games, I know they probably weren't the most difficult thing for a lot of people who are like into Osu and stuff. Like some of those, that I'm not the best at that stuff, but like people who are into Osu, I'm sure there's like Osu levels that are way more difficult than the Genshin rhythm stuff. But apparently, even for rhythm gamers, like some of the rhythm events in Genshin, when they had the high difficulty stuff, that they were fairly well done, right? So, and then for me, a lot of people wanted Labyrinth Warriors. I don't really like Labyrinth Warriors. I think it was too narrow of an event, and yeah, maybe with some reworks, Labyrinth Warriors could be good, but it would be better than just straight up exploring all the time. But the thing is, with Divine Ingenuity, that's what I want because they do these events, the FOMO events, and some of these games, these mini games, are fairly well done. Like Wind Trace, everyone loved Wind Trace when it first came out. Like maybe Wind Trace is a bit boring now because we've seen it like 4 times, repeat or something like that. Like so, but Wind Trace is like, yeah, man, Wind Trace, that was fun. So why not? You could add Wind Trace in permanently, right? I think a lot of the problem though is because China has playtime restriction laws. Uh, like they don't want people playing video games all the time, and that's a thing with China. Man. Like that's just something we're not ever going to understand. So, gotcha games are such a huge thing over there with limited content because they don't want people playing video games all the time. So, a lot of these gotcha games they limit the amount of content that they put in the game so that you're not able to play it forever, right? Because Xi Jinping hates video games, right? He wants people working and instead of playing video games. But that's China, right? It's not something we're going to understand. Divine Ingenuity would be the perfect future for Genshin. This game is a global phenomenon, culture. It's more than just a game. Let it be more than that. Let it be a platform. Yeah, the thing with Divine, the reason why the UGC thing is a good idea. I'm expecting there to be um, some kind of user generated thing that they posted about it, right? We don't know when it's going to be implemented. That's one of the reasons why I'm sticking with Genshin. I mean, it's one of the reasons. There's other reasons too, but it could be like the Minecraft of gotchas, honestly, or the Mario Maker, right? Where eventually it just becomes a game where you can custom build things. I think that's the better direction for Genshin. It's just better to go that direction where Teyvat becomes this place, a playground where you can build things in and dungeons and custom boss battles, and the other content doesn't have to stop though. That's the good thing about that kind of thing, right? Like if they add in Divine Ingenuity or something like that, then you don't have to stop making Abyss. You don't have to stop adding in new zones or a new story or new characters. You don't have to stop all that stuff, right? You're essentially just giving tools to the player base in order for them to create new content on their own, but also give more life into the game, right? And I don't know. I just feel like, and the great thing about that type of content is it's optional. It's optional, so you aren't forced to play it, right? You aren't People aren't worried about, well, do I have to log in, right? It's like, and that's the kind of stuff we need more. and not like FOMO. I gotta log in for an event, otherwise it's gonna be gone in like a day or two. So I really have to like push the event. So yeah, honestly, and that's the only that a lot of people want things from Genshin, but for me, I want two things. Okay, but the main thing I want is divine ingenuity, and then the second thing I want is Capitan or be playable. But that's a whole different. I don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe, maybe not. Okay, but divine ingenuity is basically the one thing I want from Genshin is to add that. Just do that, right? Fix the other issues I have should be fixed. They should do all that thing. But as far as as far as for the longevity of the game itself, is that it really needs something else to it, and it shouldn't go towards. It shouldn't just try and be better than Wuthering Waves in combat or something, and or you know do copy simulated universe in Honkai Star Rail. It shouldn't do those things. It should do something different that other gotcha games haven't done before. I'm sure maybe there is now. I don't know. Like, is there like a Minecraft gotcha game out there? I don't know, but like some game, a gotcha game where you build your own content, but it's also still Genshin. You know what I mean? So, anyways, that's my rant about divine ingenuity, and yeah, I believe Hoyo had a plan to add users. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're still in the. They're still creating it. I always thought that the Mayor Javari would be like, but I heard like lore wise in Genshin that the Mayor Javari is just like a desolate plain. So I don't think there's much there going on. I don't think that that could be like the prototype for the user generated content. Maybe it could. I don't know. Um, Remember that they're recruiting a lot of people with experience with Minecraft, and yeah, last year, earlier this year, yeah, they did. So that's my hope for Genshin, man. That's one of my hope. I know a lot of people want many different things from Genshin, but that's my one thing. And that ever since I saw that, actually before I saw that post, before I saw that hiring post for Genshin, um, I was even talking about it. I was talking about Genshin. I mean, not publicly because I wasn't really making videos back then, but um, I was talking to people. I was like, "Yeah, man, divine ingenuity. That should be a thing in Genshin." And then I was talking about that, and then all of a sudden, one day I see that post, and I'm like, "Okay, let's go. Like, let's. I'm waiting for it now, right? I'm waiting for the user generated content to come in Genshin." So apparently they're working on it, and hopefully every single survey I do in Genshin, I put in, "Hey, divine ingenuity, divine ingenuity." Who knows if they listen to the surveys? They probably don't. I don't know. They probably have like some kind of algorithm or whatever that filters through all the millions of surveys that they get. But the thing is, I've been waiting for divine ingenuity or the user generated content in Genshin, and I'm waiting for it, man. That's going to be the one thing to see if Genshin is going to be a lifelong, it'll definitely carry it into the future if they go that route with the game. So, and that's something I want from Genshin too. So, um, yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. So the thing with the user generated content is all they're really doing is giving us tools, right? And the tools aren't that much bigger than it's not a lot of content data wise. So for instance, it's only a server side load. It's not a load on the user because they're using assets in the game, and they're so this for instance like this tree, right? If I could build this tree somewhere else, it's not really it's the same tree, but it's not a load on the data that my game takes, right? It's a load on the server side data. So that's why the user generated content is better for mobile because it's a piece of content that uses assets that are already in the game. So you don't have to I mean, obviously they will keep adding more assets, but like adding an entire new region like Natlin, where there's different textures and stuff like that, that's way more of a burden on mobile than something like user generated content would be, right? Whereas, because you're adding more assets into the game, you're adding more data, right? That's you. They were talking about cloud and stuff like that. You could integrate it into the cloud. I mean, they understand how to work server side stuff, but um, I mean, you could have a limit on it, right? Like you can't. If you're worried about that, they could be like, well, maybe not make people build like 100 dungeons or something, right? Like it, maybe because there was a limit on the event. You could only build like three or the last one was like you could build like 5 dungeons or something, or 3 or 4. I forget how many it was, but I mean, eventually, because if that thing was implemented in the game, then um, I'm not gonna what's it called? I'm gonna want to build different dungeons. I'm just not gonna stick with the same thing all the time, right? Or you could like put a time limit. Like if someone leaves the game, their dungeon is like demolished after a certain amount of time if they're not logging in or something, and that would save server side issues. They do that in certain MMOs with like player housing. With player housing, if you don't log in for a certain amount of time, your house could get demolished. But they don't really seem to have a problem with that because with Teapot, I know someone in Genshin who hasn't played for years, and their Teapot is still up, right? So it's like I don't think they're concerned with that type of data. Um, so, anyways, but for mobile, user generated content for mobile is not an issue. It's not a big issue actually, because like I said, it's using assets that are already in the game, and you don't have to worry about or too much about new stuff taking up too much data. But yeah, anyways, I don't know. Anyways, we're talking a lot about. Like I said, I'm waiting for it to happen. I'm not holding my breath though. I don't want to. Like Natlan's been great, man. How have you guys been playing? Or have you guys finished the Archon quests 5.1 in Natlan? Like the Archon quest has been really good in Genshin. Oh come on! I hate this move. It's so stupid. It's like wow. I have to watch this animation. All right. Yeah, man. I mean, Capitano, man. I guess we can talk about spoilers then. I don't know if someone walks in. I think Capitano is going to sacrifice himself in 5.3. I think they're going to kill Capitano. That's my theory, anyways. I think because he's talking about Renova. He made a deal with Renova, and the reason why I think that has to do with why he's deteriorating, and Daneslave is not. His body is not deteriorating, is because Daneslave's curse is different from Renova's maybe curse. Like maybe they're separate curses because I think Renova granted Capitano extended life. Yeah, I think that's the thing is Renova because he was talking about or the Lord of the Night was saying, "Oh, you made a deal with, or the Lord of Death sent you on your long journey." So what that means was, my interpretation of that line was, the Lord of the Night um, made a deal with Capitano, and that's why that is the reason for Capitano's extended life. Because unless do all Conrians have extended life, or like some of them turn into hilly churls, some of them turn into those, what are they called? Those like night things, right? They all get transformed in some way, right? Um, but do they all have extended life? I think they do, right? Hey, what's up? Tension? Oh shit, I'm dead. I'm dying. I'm looking at chat. Are Hilichurls immortal? I thought they. I thought the Chasm Quest was saying that Hilichurls go down there to die. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't understand that part. But I think, yeah, all Conrians are cursed with. So I wonder why Capitano has deterioration of his body. I'm guessing it's just something similar to the Hilichurl curse or something. Um, but I guess, well, my prediction anyway is that Capitano is going to step in for Mavwika's sacrifice. And I apologize for spoilers. Maybe if people who haven't done the Archon quest maybe shouldn't be here. But Mavwika is going to try and sacrifice herself. Before that all starts, Capitano's when Aether and well, me, but when Aether and that's real self insert there, by the way. But when Aether and Mavwika are going to head off to the Night Kingdom, Capitano's going to pull up and say, "Hey, I'm coming with you guys." And then Mavwika's going to be like, "Well, what's going on? Why are you coming with us?" Capitano is not going to say anything, and he's going to come with us, Aether and Mavwika, to the Night Kingdom. And when it comes time for Mavwika to sacrifice herself, Capitano's going to be like, "Nope, I'm going to sacrifice myself instead." And that's my prediction. That's my prediction. So I don't want him to die, but I think it's going to happen. So someone taught me how to Marco this game. Didn't think it was possible, but hey, I never have to do depths. Oh, macro. Sorry, you can macro this game. I didn't even know that. So you can like autoplay Depths of Elusive Realm. Honestly, Depths of Elusive Realm it's kind of getting boring, but they're gonna add it as permanent game mode. Oh, that's why I don't really like simulated universe type content. I just didn't like it in Star Rail, and I just in Depths of Elusive Realm, it was fun at first. Like the same thing with Honkai Star Rail. Simulated universe was fun at first, but it got boring for me over time. And then the Depths of Elusive Realm was fun at first, and it's kind of the same thing as simulated universe. That's why I don't want it at Genshin. I don't want Genshin to have a simulated universe, because I know what's going to happen is at first it's going to be like fun, but then eventually it kind of gets old, right? So I don't know. Um, I didn't even know you could macro it, so you could like autoplay it or something. But yeah, Yeah, man. I mean, the 5.1 quest is great. Um, People hate Chaska. I don't know why. I think Chaska looks cool. Her story's good too. Um, she's a good character. Like she's um, yeah, it's like the character writing in Genshin. They just the reason why I like character writing in Genshin is because they feel relatable and they feel human. Uh, and they're not like these. They do have tropes. Like every character has a trope or a quirk or whatever, but they're not like it doesn't. That trope doesn't overshadow their humanity as a character. So that's why I like Genshin's characters more than certain other anime games. Um, because I feel like that's one thing that a lot of anime games do not very well is that anime characters have tropes, but for some like yeah, I don't know. I don't want to talk shit about Hawkeye Star. A lot of people they'll get you know what? I'll just talk shit about Hawkeye Star Rail. Okay? A lot of times in Hawkeye Star Rail, character tropes would supersede and be higher than like characters acting like actual people and having agency and stuff like that. It's like that happens a little bit in Genshin with Dory, like a character like Dory. I think Dory is not very good of a character. I don't know much about uh, Dory's backstory. That's kind of a little rhyme there, um, but like a character like Dory is not. I'm not interested in that character because they're more of a trope and less of a character. But you know, with like trying to think like Chevreus's story that was tied to an event. But Chevreus's story, you know, she's like this cop, and she's all about the sense of justice and kind of embodiment of Fontaine. But at the same time, she uh, she has this human backstory with her father and how you know he kind of wasn't a really good dad and stuff like that. So it's like I forget her exact. I think he was a cop, but he also like kind of disgraced because he did some crime or something. I don't know. But Charusa's story was good because I don't know. It just she just felt like a human. You know what I mean? Like even though they're anime characters, it's like they have that relatability to them. And so with Chaska, I like Chaska's story because of the sibling thing, right? And that's one of the things I like about Bellabog in Hawkeye Star Rail is I thought Bellabog was much better than any other story in Hawkeye Star Rail because you know there was the Serval and Japard thing, you know, even the Sealy and Bronya thing, where you know they felt like they felt grounded as characters, even though it was a fantasy setting. And there's, I still think that's important. Yes, one of the only 3D gotcha games I've found macros for, despite the hardcore hard content. I'm clearing it without touching my keyboard. That's crazy, man. I didn't even know that was possible. That's yeah. Where he throws Chevy into freezing water, and he was like a strict father, and it's kind of harsh in his tactics. And but one of the things was um, he was like a cop, right? But he kind of disgraced the police force because of something he did, and you know, she kind of Chevreuse kind of learned a lesson from that. even though she followed in his footsteps of being a cop, right? So, but that kind of thing, it's like it's just relatable, right? And with Chaska, um, oops, sorry, kind of probably made a bad noise in the mic there. With Chaska, she has that sibling thing going on, and she was adopted, and you know, but you see her experience real loss right in front of you, right? Which is good because it's like I don't know. People accuse Genshin of having a kid's story. Well, that's not really true. The story is way too complicated. Yeah, but kid stories. The problem with that is like, in my opinion, kid stories nowadays are way too like Star Wars used to be a kid story, but in Star Wars you have like people getting decapitated and like people's hands and limbs being chopped off and like there's real lessons, right? But it's like at the same time it's a kid's story, so it's like watered. The kid stories nowadays are are watered down, right? Like, but Genshin is not a kid story. It's way too complicated for it to be a kid story. I'm sorry, they use words and stuff in Genshin that are just no. It's not really like good stories are appealing to people of all ages, right? Where it's like if I can watch a story like that's why Star Wars was so popular is because the kids watch it because it's like oh there's lightsabers and there's like people doing fucking magic and cool stuff and they're like floating and doing like oh there's combat and cool, right? That's why the kids watch Star Wars, but then the adults watch Star Wars because it had a human story to it, and there's like you know father son story to it, and like you know uh, some kind of message to it, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying Star Wars is deep. It's not really deep. It's in some sense it is, but in other senses it's kind of just it's entertainment, right? But you can have a story that appeals to all age groups, right? It's a human story. So, I mean, that's Genshin does that fairly well. Like kids will play Genshin because it's a video game and there's like characters it's the combat they like that, right? But also like the story itself in Genshin it's kind of mature at times, right? I mean like freaking Lynette, the Lynette story, that's crazy. Like she gets they were gonna child traffic her. She was gonna be abducted and like put in child trafficking. That's crazy. Like that's not a kid story. You know what I mean? That's not a kid story. Yeah, Corrupt Cop, that's not true. Oh, yeah, if Star Wars is kids' story, then I guess so. Genshin needs reading comprehension. Yeah, it does. Like, there's a lot of dialogue in Genshin that's just, it's too complicated for a certain age group. Yeah, you can appeal to a wide audience, right? Like, for instance, I don't know if you guys saw the X-Men movies, right? The X-Men, or I mean, X-Men as a comic series, it appeals to kids because it's got cool mutant powers and stuff like that. But if you really dig into X-Men comics, they're talking about like like mutants who are oppressed because they have powers, and it's just like they're being treated unfairly and some of them are being slaves. They're slaves to uh power because and it's like Magneto, he thinks that humans are the enemy because they treat them differently and stuff like that. It's like you can, but X-Men appeals to the kids because of the mutant stuff and the powers and like the cool stuff. But then you also have like that human story to it. So it's like and the realistic story where it can be dark and gritty and like certain mutants are being jailed because their powers they're just too strong, right? And people are worried that Um, so that's, and you understand what I'm saying, but that's why I kind of dismiss this whole thing with Genshin being a kid's story, when it's not really. It appeals to a wide audience. That's all, really. I mean, it's good at doing that, to appealing to a wide audience, right? So, which I feel like a lot of people don't understand anymore, especially with certain stories. Anyway, while you're on this topic, how does that translate into your opinion of the WuWa story? To me, it definitely tries to be more mature, but the shit writing it just falls flat for me. Yeah, well, WuWa's writing, they rewrote the story, which, guys, can I play? Okay, I'm gonna search desktop here. Okay, I might have a clip. Where is my? Is this clip? Okay, archive. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. Oh, okay. Let me get my headset, guys, because I want to listen to this too. But this is Ashikai's take on. Okay, well, damn. She talks about HSR story here, and that's what I clipped. Um, Hold on. Let me get my headset anyway. Okay. So, well, I only clipped the HSR part, but in this clip, in this, uh, hold on. Let me. All right. So she was on stream with Sekapoko. I don't really watch him that much, but because Ashikai was on stream with him, she was talking about Wuthering Waves story, and she was talking about Honkai Star Rail story, right? Now, I only clipped the Honkai Star Rail story because that part where she was talking about why she isn't interested in the Honkai Star Rail story as much as she's interested in Genshin story. But she did talk about Wuthering Waves in this part, and I didn't clip that part, but I should have. So she talked about Wuthering Waves, and I sort of agree with her. Is that Wuthering Waves? Because this guy asked the question, tension. In the Wuthering Waves part, she was saying, well, they rewrote the story. So, but we all know that's true because they even mentioned it on a live stream in that the rover, when in the original story in Wuthering Waves, is that the rover was this unknown entity, and when the rover arrived in the Jinzhou, they were kind of like uh, people were suspicious of the rover, right? And people acted towards the rover in a more hostile way, right? And what happened with the story in Wuthering Waves is they rewrote the story. And a lot of people thought, well, oh, they're rewriting the story in Wuthering Waves because it was shit, and now they're writing it so it's better. But the opposite was true, because what happened is they rewrote the rover to be some kind of omnipotent being and God that everyone praised, right? So uh, Rover here now is like some kind of like everyone loves the rover, everyone knows about the rover. It's like, hey, Rover, nice to see you. And and it's like, oh, well, the rover, and then she's talking about the rover, and so the whole story is just about the rover now, and they rewrote the story before it was like, and the reason why they did that is because, and I'm gonna say it, the Chinese players, they just want to be pandered to, okay, and that's one of the reasons why there's some conflict in sometimes with the West and with Chinese players is that they would prefer their character to be um, a self insert where everyone loves them and everyone just wants to suck their dick. Okay, I'll just say it. Okay, this is not a kid stream. Okay, so everyone wants to be the rover, right? And everyone loves the rover. And the reason why that writing sucks is because, I mean, that's not how things go, right? That's not, you don't just walk in somewhere. It's like you're this prophesized deity. And the problem with Wuthering Wave's story is that it's just constantly about the rover now, right? Like Mount Firmament was apparently, it's just stupid. Like you go to the Jinzhou, right? Then you're like this god, and Jian, like this military general. You're first of all, you're an amnesiac, okay? You can't remember anything, and then Jian is asking you advice or your opinion on military decisions, which is just stupid. Okay, like why would you ask an amnesiac patient for military decisions and one that you just met? It's like, who is this guy, right? Like, and people, even Chinese players said Jian is stupid for that. They made fun of him in China for Jian saying that to the rover. Like the military general doesn't even know how to. He doesn't even know how to govern an army or whatever. And then you go to this place, Mount Firmament, and then you're playing through it, and it's like this dragon. There's like time stopping, and then all of a sudden you learn that the dragon here, for some reason, it's like the dragon knows Rover. I was like, what? What the hell is that? It's just stupid. Okay, I know Rover now. And then you go to Black Shores, and can you guess what the story's going to be out in Black Shores? The story in Black Shores is about the rover and how the rover uh, is like some kind of, they built the Black Shores and they used to control the Black Shores, and it's like this getting uncannily stupid. Okay, so technically those are the Chinese ML community. Not all CN player, but there are certainly more of them. The that Warroom dialing is trash manhwa writing. It's exactly how a story would play in a common isekai trash man. Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but yeah, like there's. I mean, just because it's anime doesn't mean it's good. 'Cause a lot of people don't understand that. Um, I don't engage with a lot of manhwa. Uh, honestly, I haven't been watching that much anime. I want to watch Free Ren. That I'm gonna get around to watching Free Ren eventually. I haven't watched a single episode, but anyways, so you come to Black Shores and Rover. It's Rover again, right? So, but it's not just that. It's like a lot of the dialogue is boring. Uh, like a lot of the characters are just not interesting personality wise in Wuthering Waves, and um, I don't know, man. Like I just don't think I. But the only reason I know the story here is because I watched someone else do it. Like when I play Wuthering Waves, I do not play with the story. I got tired. I got tired of listening to Yang Yang Yap. Yang Yang, yeah. There was just too much exposition dump, and I just had to start skipping Wuthering Waves story. Honestly, it wasn't good. Um, Wuthering Waves writing is what you can find in most manhwa power fantasy. Oh, okay. So it's not like shonen; it's more like power fantasy isekai. Okay. Um, but yeah, it's like, man, I don't know. I mean, Wuthering Waves. how's it translate to me? It's just definitely. Is it mature though? I don't know. Yeah, like the only thing people get. Oh, here's a chest. People don't take maturity from Wuthering Waves is just the setting because it's dark and gloomy, and it's about what's the Tacits or whatever they're called. I don't know, the Lament, and it's like it's gloomy, it's dark, it's gritty looking or whatever compared to Genshin. The reason they just have stupid arguments for Genshin that why because it's a colorful game, therefore it's like a kid's game, it's childish and you shouldn't take it seriously because of the art style, right? It's like okay, well that doesn't really make any sense because I mean it's an anime I could sit here and look at it's a cartoon, right? Ultimately, um, that the okay, so it's more colorful, but uh, that doesn't really mean anything. Like it's like the story could still be um, mature. It doesn't. It's just there. It's just the arguments towards Genshin. That's they think because Wuthering Waves is like this dark, gritty game with post-apocalyptic setting, therefore it's more mature. And it's like okay, well, it's trying to be mature, but that doesn't mature doesn't mean good writing. It doesn't mean like if something's mature, it could still have shitty writing. Like for instance, I don't know, a horror movie or something, right? Like yeah, there could be a lot of people getting killed in a horror movie, and sure, it's mature, but the movie could still suck, right? It doesn't mean maturity does not equal good writing. That's what I'm trying to say. That's how simple it is, right? It's like so. But what I was saying is that a lot of people think Genshin is a kid's story when it's not. It's it's the same as any comic book, right? On the surface, on the surface of a comic book, you can look. It's like superheroes in tights, and it's just like I gotta go punch the villain in the face, right? But ultimately, superhero stories they can be for kids, but they can also be for a wider audience, right? And with Wuthering Waves, I don't know, man. I just feel like, yeah, the story being mature doesn't mean it's good. Like, yeah. Anyways, there's not much more to say about Wuthering Waves story. Dark and gloomy. Oh, sure. They clearly haven't been this on Streaming Island. Yeah, Streaming Island is that was a long time ago, but I mean, it's just a bunch of ghosts walking around. Uh, I've seen people argue how dark the Natlan story doesn't fit with Genshin's cel shaded look. The dark Natlan story is what do you mean by dark? Like just aesthetically, or like dark as in oh the you mean the war parts? I mean that doesn't. I mean the abyss has always been in Genshin though. Like the abyss has always been dark and gloomy. It's always been a thing in Genshin. So I'm not sure why people would be worried or saying something like that now when the abyss has always been a thing in Genshin. So oh yeah, but I wanted to listen to this Ashikai clip by the way. Uh, but yeah, let's hear it. Is it playing? Oh, it's not. There's no sound. Okay, here we go.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. But like, I didn't understand anything that was happening the entire time, and Star Rail story.
is actually
all the way up to Penacony was like, sci-fi mumbo jumbo. Okay, I understand. Yep, totally get it.
So this is actually my problem with Star Rail's writing.
Sure.
Is that the writing isn't satisfying in a way that I enjoy, in the sense of like, it's okay for a story to be complicated and to have a lot of moving parts.
Sure.
I think that's fine.
Sure.
There's lots of people who enjoy those sorts of stories. I'm one of them. And I also do really appreciate simple stories too. But I like all stories as long as they're well written. The problem is that the way Star Rail's writing comes off, it's like the writer is standing right next to you the whole time and goes, "That's clever, right? That's clever. That's clever, right? That's good. That's good." Right? Like that's the vibe that I have, like going through the whole story. Like
a guy elbow you in the shoulder, going like that.
Yeah, like the writing wants you to think the writers are clever more so than they want you to be satisfied with whatever it is you're experiencing. I'm not quite sure how to articulate this feeling in a way, but that's kind of like where I'm at with it.
My mom
like,
calls
I had a really
it
hard
slapstick
time.
comedy versus depth.
No, it's like they're trying to be deep, but they're trying to be deep for the sake of being deep rather than to let something be deep for like existing in how it is, right? Like, for example, in Penacony, I didn't need this philosophical discussion going on about why do people sleep?
I want to just add something in there. She is so fucking right about that, okay? With the Honkai Star Rail comparison. And where she says that they write stuff with, they're writing to be deep. No, they're writing for the sake of being deep, but they're not actually being deep. And she talks about the why do people sleep or something, right? But I noticed that immediately. When they started talking about why do birds fly. And then I'm like, oh, I know where this is going. They're trying to be deep, but they're not actually being deep. They're trying to convey a point by using some kind of weird philosophical analogy that doesn't really work, okay? And when Ashikai said this, and when she started talking about Honkai Star Rail, and I was there, so that's why I recorded this clip. And when she said this, I was like, fuck yes, I love Ashikai. Because she got what I was thinking and no one else was saying for so long. And that's why I made that Honkai Star Rail video on why I think the story is not that good. Okay? Now, Belobog was all right, but it went downhill from Belobog. Okay? So with Penacony, what they were doing, why does life slumber, and why do birds fly, and all this stuff. That's what, for me, what annoys me about a lot of anime, and this is a lot of things that this is like an anime thing that a lot they do. And I was saying this in the podcast Peace Week, but basically it's they use these philosophical analogies where they're trying to get a point across and do it in like a clever manner. But what that does ultimately is it makes the characters less human because no one talks like that. Okay, when I'm trying to like no one, unless I'm like in a Shakespearean play or something like that, and it's like some kind of like flowery, articulate, poetic presentation, I'm not talking like that, right? And so that was my issue with Penacony, but no one was saying that, right? I felt like I was alone. And then when Ashikai started saying this, I'm like, okay, you know what? I love Ashikai now. She gets what I'm trying. She understands. And people were trying to make me out saying that I'm like this. I didn't understand, and HSR was like this brilliant piece of writing, and I'm like, just hold on here because there's something wrong, right? So, anyways, we're gonna watch the rest of the clip. But when Ashikai said this, I was like, okay, she gets it. She gets it, right? Anyways, let me.
Like, I didn't need every single person reiterating their point of view on something because, like, at some point in the story, it was answered. right?
Yeah.
Like they gave you the answer, but then people kept saying, well, this is my opinion, this is my opinion. I was like, okay, but like narratively, this question no longer serves any purpose, because we've also realized that sleep isn't actually sleep, it's dormancy, and like all this other like, and like the way that they write it is so convoluted because they want you to feel like it's clever, and it doesn't let the actual story stand on its own merits, because if you reduce the story to its bullet points, it's a good story, right?
Okay.
But because of the like sheer the weird exposition in the way that they write it, it doesn't come off that way. And just to compare it with Genshin, I won't go much longer, I promise.
No, I have a
Just to
point on the
compare it with
point.
Genshin is also very long-winded, but Genshin tends to be a lot more straightforward, right? And so when something is clever, it feels clever, and it never really feels like the writers want you to like acknowledge that they were clever. Like they just kind of let it exist. Even though like the plot of Genshin's very simple, what happens is very simple, like I never really feel like that guy's in the room like sitting with me like watching me watch the thing, waiting for me to praise him and be like, "Oh my god, that was so good." You know?
So, to summarize in one sentence, you have a problem with Honkai Star Rail not being subtle enough with their level of being clever.
Yeah, it's like they can't decide whether to talk down to me or talk up to me.
Yeah. Okay. Agreed.
And I'm like, "Please pick one."
Yeah. Agreed. I think that Honkai Star Rail story was so fucking boring all the way up through the first Penacony. And then when I got to the first Penacony, I was like, oh, this is not bad.
All right. So anyway, yeah. So okay. So what she says about Genshin's story is, so someone said, if you don't agree with these types of people and follow the crowd, you're simply a hater in these eyes. I mean, that's what I found. That's what and that happens a lot now on the internet, anyways. But the reason why people will listen to Ashikai is because she has a big follower base, right? So it's like someone like me. I mean, I have almost 200 subs. I appreciate that, but it's like if I say something like this, it'll be like, ah, you're wrong, right? You're just wrong. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, Ashikai said what basically I was saying, right? She's been saying what I've been saying, right? And so I was like, yeah, well, a lot of people are just like, before I heard that, and I thought I was like alone or something. Not really. I mean, I understand more people agree with me with Honkai Star Rail story, but Wuthering Waves story, it's even worse. It's worse than Honkai Star Rail, and the reason why it's worse is because it's also just like kind of batshit crazy with how it's trying to portray the rover. But earlier on in that stream, she talked about Wuthering Waves story. And basically, she was saying she doesn't have any respect for the writers because they changed the direction of how it was supposed to be a narrative that wasn't focused on the rover, but then it turned into one, and that was the rewrite. And then after that point, she's like, I don't have any respect for the writers, and I don't really care about Wuthering Waves story. And from what I've paid attention to Wuthering Waves story, it's not that good. I mean, it's not. It's not as compelling as some people might make it out to be. I mean, even a lot of Wuthering Waves players, they're not playing this game for the story. They're playing for the combat, and that's it. They just play for the combat, right? So yeah. And I was gonna finish that. Did I finish that comment? Um, oh, okay. I wanted to talk about this, what he said about me. And this was one thing that, well, let me read the comments here. I still remember people treating Penacony like some absolute peak fiction and, oh my god, 300 IQ mind games and complicated faction relations. Yeah. Everyone was saying like Penacony was like, that's the best thing Horrorverse has ever produced. And oh my god, it's peak, and I'm like, what? And I'm sitting there watching Penacony. I'm like, this has got to be like, what is wrong? What is happening? Right? I was sitting there confused. I'm like, what are they talking about? Right? Like, and the reason, okay, a lot of people are like, you're just biased towards Genshin, right? And you like Genshin, so we're not going to listen to you about Penacony. But I'm not biased towards Genshin. Inazuma is not good. Okay, um, Inazuma is the worst arc in Genshin. There's a reason for that. Inazuma is the most whiplash pacing of any story I've ever experienced. I would say the pacing whiplash in Inazuma is crazy. Sorry. Hold on a second. I had to drink some water. God, talking for this long makes my throat dry. But Inazuma's pacing is so slow at the beginning, man. Like going to Rito, and like you're dealing with like these international laws in Ritu with Inazuma, and there's Outsider, and it's like so slow and boring, and it's like no one cares about this stuff, right? Like I don't care that it's hard to get into Inazuma, and then the like restrictions and stuff like that, and then you're taken to see Ayaka, and then Ayaka, she's like, well, I need to go out and look at these vision holders that got their vision stripped away from them, and it's like, okay, well, that point is okay, but you don't have to show us three different times with three different vision holders. It's just, and it takes too long to get the point across that vision holders lose their ambition when they lose their vision. And it's like, so the beginning of Inazuma is bad. I think a lot of people know that, right? But and then all of a sudden, uh, after you do Yoimiya and Ayaka's quest, then it goes into Act Two or Part Two of Inazuma, and then all of a sudden you have to run to Watatsumi Island, and then there's like a little bit of fighting, and then it goes like breakneck speed, and then all of a sudden it's like Inazuma's done. It's like, okay, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like the whiplash of pacing for Inazuma is super slow at the start, like super super slow, and then all of a sudden it's like over, and Act Two is like boom, it's over. So what the hell? So so when people accuse me of being biased towards Genshin, I'm not. Genshin has its issues with certain, but they learned from Inazuma, right? They realized they're like, hold on, we can't do this. Like Inazuma's not good. So whatever happened with the writing team with Inazuma, they figured it out, and then they cooked up Sumeru, and then Sumeru was decent. Like Sumeru's not like, it still had its parts where it was a bit dragging, like with the desert part where you're like going around with Alhaitham, it gets a bit draggy. Uh, what's the village called with Candace's village? Not Caravan Rebot, but anyways, so the desert part, like some parts of Inazuma drag, and um, what's it called? Uh, but Sumeru, um, it it gets better. Like the writing, Ruka Devada, talking about King Deshret, he unleashes the abyssal, uh, the forbidden knowledge and stuff like that, and so it gets more compelling with the fantasy elements, and and the writing where it's a mystery, like what does world forget me mean? What does world forget me? But you realize what it actually means, and it's like, yeah, fuck, this is good, this is decent, right? It's good writing. So Inazuma was bad, but it gets better with it got better over time, right? So they realized their mistake, right? Now, in my opinion, Penacony was just, but the problem with Penacony is that people did not complain about it. They're like, this is peak. This Penacony is peak. So they're not going to change, right? Whereas whereas when Inazuma came out, they're like, hey, Genshin writers, you need to. This is not good, man. You need to figure things out. So people were honest about Genshin, but they weren't honest about HSR, man. There's like this is I don't know. I don't know. Read the comments. Inazuma got rewrote. I heard that. I heard Inazuma got a rewrite, but there's no way of knowing that the rewrite would have been better, or the original story. We can't know that. Like the rewrite could have been even worse. Maybe the rewrite made it a little bit better than it could have been even worse. But Inazuma's side story, yeah, Ankonomiya is great. Surumi Island is great. The Cleansing is great. Inazuma was a strange time for Genshin, but I remember back then it's like, um, and then the chasm opening up. But Dane Slave stories, honestly, the consistent thing is that for some reason Dane Slave remains. He's got always had like a decent story attached to Dane Slave. You know what I mean? It's like even the first parts of Dane Slave's story were they were still like I remember doing Dane Slave's story in Genshin at like the first time you meet him, it's like, yeah, this is cool. Like, who is this guy? We're opening up the first parts of like the bigger arc. Like he knew my sibling, and but what's the deal? So it's kind of like a mystery, right? And then we get to learn more about the Abyss, right? And then the second Dane Slave quest is literally with our Abyss twin is, our sibling is a part of the Abyss, right? So it's like, and then the Chasm Dane Slave quest. So whenever Dane Slave's in Genshin, it's like, yeah, this is decent, right? It's going to be decent. The Kari Bear, it's great, man. Kari Bear, and then the last one, Bedtime Story. It was 90. By the way, 90 minutes bedtime story peak. Like it's great. I mean, I loved it. The bedtime story was great, man. Like it's like, Kari Bear is a great character. The game improved. That's the thing. Like Genshin realized its mistakes, and people were honest about shitting on Inazuma, but rightfully so. So yeah, honestly, Inazuma was a shaky. It was rocky. It was a rocky period. Yeah, the upside down statue with the treasure hoarder there, and but yeah, Kari Bear was that was good, man. Kari Bear was good. Um, and but like for instance, Ashika was saying like clever moments in Genshin where they don't overstay their welcome. Like for instance, the one part in Kari Bear where he tricks Daneslave, um, it was well done because it's not like a giant focus, right? It's like, oh, did you think that was good writing? It's like it's simple writing, but it's like it's good because it explains something that happened, right? And they don't really focus on it too much, right? Where I feel like, um, whoops, sorry, if it was a different, if it was a different writer, it would have been, it could have been worse, right? It could have been handled worse. So, but like the cleverness of Genshin is, oh, I want to talk to you about. Okay, so a lot of people were like the Fontaine story. So this is the cleverness of Genshin that I really enjoy. Is I will be honest about the Fontaine story. And when the prophecy was coming true, and I was like, and I couldn't figure. I'm like, what the hell? Why is it just a whale? Like, where did this whale come from, right? And because it's kind of like it's kind of Like if you look at it in a vacuum, honestly, like the whale explanation is kind of stupid. I will be honest. Like it's like doesn't really make sense for the prophecy. It's like it's kind of an ass pull. Like if you think about the whale being the cause, but guess what? This is where the cleverness in Genshin's writing comes in, because what we learn from bedtime story, okay, we learn that um, Sertologi was one of the sinners, right? But we understand that Vidolfnir was the one who wrote the prophecy, okay? Now think about that. Sertologi, his pet was the whale, right? So, and he was one of the sinners, and Vidolfnir wrote the prophecy for coming true. But is it really a prophecy, or was it just a plan by Vidolfnir and Sertologi to make this thing happen, right? Because obviously Sertologi would understand that having the primordial seawater being eaten up by the whale would have caused some kind of irregularities in Tevat and caused a flood, right? So if you think about it, I think the sinners, like they're cooking up these like prophecies and stuff, but they're not actually, they're just plans in order to, they're trying to get back at Celestia for some reason, or they're trying to fight Celestia, because ultimately the sinners are part of the Abyss now, because I don't know, actually I don't know what the sinners are trying to do. But on the surface level, when you look at the Fontaine Prophecy quest, it's like all of a sudden there's this whale and it's out of nowhere. But then when the bedtime story quest came around, they give you answers as to why that whale was there. Why, and it makes sense because of the sinners and their plan towards Celestia and stuff like that. So we don't know exactly what they're trying to do. But yeah, uh, sinners sinned all over the place. Jet's storyline made me cry. Still my favorite story from the whole game. Maybe outside of Archon Quest. Shit, that stuff made me cry. That's a special achievement. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Ruka Devada's storyline got me. That's one of the reasons why I like that story, Ruka Devada. ADHD comment. Managed to repeat myself in one shot. By the way, the whale was just an actor of fate. Fate happens regardless. And the narwhal was just the means to do it. Could have been something else entirely. So it's possible that the sinner tried to tamper with fate. But that's the thing, right? Vidolfnir can see the future. That's one of each sinner has a power, right? And this is why for me, why I say Genshin is really doing fantasy justice. So look, I'm going to be honest. A lot of people maybe they're saying I'm talking too highly of Genshin, but during the moment of bedtime story when Daneslave, he was talking about, he was revealing the sinners, right? And for me, that was kind of a Lord of the Rings moment, right? Where I'm like, oh, okay, so this is fantasy, right? This is the fantasy genre, and essentially what the sinners have is the rings of power, right? Like an equivalent, right? So the sinners stole the rings of power, and they each gained a specific power, right? So Vidolfnir is the oracle; he could see the future, right? And then Gold, Rhine can create life, right? So that's like a crazy power, right? And then Sertologi is like, I'm not exactly sure what. So he was the vial or something. I don't know. But we know what the powers of two of them are, right? So essentially, the sinners, they have specific powers that they all got for themselves. But it seems like Vidolfnir and Sertologi were working together in some way, where maybe that, maybe they're trying to coax Celestia to do something. We don't know yet, right? That's another good thing. It's like we have a lot of information, but we don't understand like why Celestia is asleep, right? Like why didn't Celestia respond to the throne of the Hydro Archon being destroyed, right? So it's just good fantasy writing, right? Like where things are revealed in a way that's not, it doesn't seem forced, and it just feels like it's all pre-planned and like it's natural writing, right? So, um, and when it got to that point in the story, where as like Inazuma was kind of bad, then when it got around to Sumeru, and then it started getting into Fontaine, and then more of the Daneslave quest, and now it's like, okay, now I'm on board because, um, yeah, for me, Genshin's fantasy story, it's just more compelling than. Uh, I know a lot of people like to shit on it because Genshin's a popular game, but it did improve. Like it did get better than what it was, right? So, like before, like a lot of the character stories were bad too, like not great. Like Kokomi's story and Ganyu's story and Chin's story, that it was right. It was all just about these these girls who are overworked at their job, right? And now it's like character stories aren't like that. They have actual. It's different for each character, right? Like so, the character stories got better too in Genshin. So it's possible that the sinner tried to temper with fate, or at least change an actor. Considering the amount of lore drops of 5.1 and pumped for 5.3, who knows what they'll pull off this time? Yeah, I mean, my predictions for 5.3. So 5.2, I don't like story leaks. I do not look at story leaks. I will look at leaks for character kits or animations or something, but that's it. Or maybe like a new, like if there's a new weapon coming or something, but I don't like story leaks. So everything I'm saying is not a story leak. My predictions for 5.2, I mean, everyone's been saying we're going to revisit Durin. Durin's going to wake up, right? We're going to resurrect Durin in Dragonspine somehow, right? So Durin is going to be involved in some way or another in 5.2. And then 5.3, Capitano is going, Capitano or whatever you call him, he's going to step in and take the price of death that Mavwika has to pay. Capitano is going to take Mavwika's place for that, and he's going to sacrifice his life. Are we going to rid the Abyss from Natlan? Probably. We're probably going to rid the Abyss from Natlan. A lot of people were saying we're going to finally get something on the Sustainer of Heavenly Principles. I think after Capitano dies, which I do not want him to die. I want him to be a playable character. I want him to live in the story. He's my favorite character in Genshin. But after Capitano dies, and I think he will, I think we're going to get the Gnosis. Aether is going to get the Gnosis, and we're going to take it to Snezhnaya for some reason. Or maybe some people are saying Columbine is going to come in and grab the Gnosis. But I don't know. There's a chest here. I didn't even know. Oh, what? Whoa. Oh, God. Anyways, but the Gnosis, after Natlan's Gnosis, they're all collected, right? That's the last one. Because the Saritsa already has the Cryognosis, right? And so we don't know what they want, what they're trying to do with... obviously, the only line we have is Piero says we're going to seize authority from the gods. So I'm assuming we're going to find out the Saritsa, what Zhang Li can't tell us, basically. Zhang Li knows something, but he's under NDA. This is retarded. And my prediction with Venti is that he knows everything. Venti knows everything, but he won't say because he's a drunk. And whatever happened in the past, he's guilty about. I think Venti feels guilty. That's why he drinks all the time. And because he's like the Freedom Archon, he's free to not say if he doesn't want to, right? That's his justification. Or he's going to be something stupid like that. No one asked me. Right? That's the thing. Like Venti's going to be like, well, you didn't ask me, so that's why I didn't tell you. Right? But Venti, I believe Venti is guilty of what happened. He feels guilty, and that's why he drinks all the time. That's my theory. And Zhang Li can't talk about what happened because he's under NDA from the Saritsa. And whatever we're gonna know why the Archons were all had to go to Conria and were implicit with Celestia and followed Celestia's rules. And we're gonna what the fuck is treasure chest? Okay, anyways. Yeah, and then we're gonna know the truth. Like Snezhnaya is gonna blow the lid off everything. But I don't know how much we're gonna learn in 5.3. We already saw the fake sky, so um, but seeing the fake sky is just confirmation that we knew, right? But we don't know what exactly is happening out there, right? We don't know um, we don't know what's out there, man. Like uh, where is Tevat? Like why is it messed up outside, right? Discord server when? I don't know. Um, should I make one? Maybe me and P Squeak will make one. I'm not really good at moderating things like that, but I might make one in the future. Uh, I'll think about it. I'm not sure if I'm going to. Man, editing videos is hard, man. Fuck. Like streaming and stuff is easy. Like if I could stream, that'd be better. But I need to get a better hard drive so I can play different games on stream. Like I want to stream Genshin, and I want to like right now I play Genshin on my PlayStation 5, and I don't have a capture card to set it up. But um, yeah, but yeah, I'll think about it. Man, that video I made, the Genshin video, it's a 10-minute video. That was with writing the script and getting all the footage and then editing it all. It was like 12 hours of work for a 10-minute video, which is totally messed up, man. Like that's, I mean, maybe I'm inefficient because I'm not used to it, but yeah, man. Like I didn't realize how much it takes just to edit a 10-minute video. Um. Okay, so Venti's sus. Yeah. All right, let me read all this. The amount of underlying lore you can find in Genshin from the books and notes you find is huge. Yeah, yeah. People praised Elden Ring and Souls games for the exact same thing, but with Genshin, suddenly it's bad and a baby game. Yeah, I mean that's what most people see as the surface level stuff. Is just Genshin's an anime with colorful graphics, so therefore it's a baby game. I feel like we need to get done with Natlan to move on to Durin. Well, Durin, the thing with 5.2 is that they usually do, if they have a Dragonspine event or quest or something, it's always during around this time, during the start of winter. It's always been around the point 2 patch, right? For the Dragonspine quests, events. Venti, the webcomic Venti had a flashback moment of Inside Celestia, and it clearly shook him. Yeah, Venti knows something, but he's drinking and what he knows away because he doesn't want to think about it. That's why he gets drunk all the time. I don't know if the webcomic still has canon or not, the current story. Okay, 5 viewers. That's a lot. I appreciate you guys watching because like 5 viewers is a lot, man. I didn't realize. It's kind of okay. Oh, I wanted to finish reading that this comment, and then I'm gonna finish reading this comment, talk a little bit more, but then I gotta go. It's getting a little bit late, and I might stream more often, honestly. But I'll if I make a Discord server and like if I make a Discord server and announce streaming more often, then I'll make like a short little video and I'll post in the Discord there, and then I'll say I'm going to stream more often. But I got to go get a hard drive so I can install more games because right now my SSD is not big enough. And the videos making videos too much space, anyways. But so I just want to finish this comment and then I will what's it called? And then I'm gonna go. But yeah, so okay, so I made a joke at the end of the video, but so I guess to come over to the WuWa thing again, I would still generally disagree that you are honestly really fair here with videos like Wuthering Waves players need to wake up that have some revenue numbers on them or thumbnails that are very much just Wuthering Waves will fail in general. Comes off as rather hostile than informative, even if you don't mean it. So he's saying that I am more harsh on Wuthering Waves, probably because I mean, but I don't. I think Wuthering Waves needs it, man. Like most people agree that Wuthering Waves story is not good. You know, Wuthering Waves, it had a lot of issues at launch with the bugs and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, this guy thinks that, you know, but what I don't understand here is like people are harsh on Genshin too. So like there's been tons of videos about people shitting on Genshin all the time. I don't understand why. It's not something new. All right, so and Wuthering Waves basically having to deal with general hostility against it for practically its entire lifespan. Same thing as Genshin. Like, okay, Wuthering Waves basically having to deal with general hostility towards against it for practically its entire lifespan. Same thing with so when Genshin launched, it's a Zelda clone. It's a Breath of the Wild clone. When Genshin launched, it's a gotcha. They're stealing your money. It's a gotcha game. It's all about pay to win, right? First anniversary, everyone shat on Genshin. Low amount of rewards. Teapot released. Everyone hated it. You know, this character. What was the first like controversial character that was like too underpowered? Kokomi. I think Kokomi. Like Kokomi is just bad. Like don't even roll for Kokomi, even though she wasn't that bad. But and then like Genshin's been dealing ever since Genshin's inception. It's been getting hostility just for existing. So people are just generally going to be tired of from basically just another guy. This is the point that is so crazy. Just another guy trying to monetize on the WuWa hate train. Guys. Okay, there's a video. Let me go to this video. Okay. Wuthering Waves is a better game than Genshin Impact. Okay. There's this video. Wuthering Waves is a better game than Genshin Impact. All the reasons why. Okay. Soulless. 39K views. Okay. This person, I haven't clicked on their video link in a long time. The last time I saw they had 700 subs, before they made this video, they had 200 subs. Soulless, okay? If you're talking about capitalizing, let's click. Soulless, how many subs? 1.32K. Okay. I'm gonna turn the volume down here. My freaking. Okay, hold on. But yeah, they gained 1,100 subs from this video alone. Wuthering Waves is a bit. So if you're talking about capitalizing on the WuWa hate train, bro, I have 194 subs. I got 1 sub from this Genshin video. 1 person subbed to me. I got 15 subs from this Wuthering Waves video. 15. Okay? So you're talking about trying to monetize or trying to capitalize. My opinion is not getting me subs. Like, it's not getting me 1,100 subs to say that Wuthering Waves. I could easily do this. I could be like, you know what, guys? I'm going to say that Wuthering Waves is great and Genshin is shit. I will probably get more subs and viewers, but I'm making it. I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to capitalize on hating Wuthering Waves. In actuality, in this video, I was being light. I was saying, I was being kind of logical in this video, right? I got 2.8K views, but at the same time, I got 15 subs, man. I could easily make a video about why Genshin sucks and why Wuthering Waves is why Wuthering Waves is better, and get a video that's almost 40K views and gain 1,100 subs. So this point about me trying to monetize, why I think I'm gonna be blunt and say something. What's the point here? He's trying to say that monetize Wuthering Waves. The hate against Wuthering Waves. This is the most ridiculous point he's ever made. Monetizing the WuWa hate train. I can't do 15 subs is not monetizing, okay? What I'm trying to say is basically you definitely more so treat Wuthering Waves and people who play it different to Genshin and people who play Genshin. Bias is natural, and I really don't mean that in a hostile way, but it just makes the way you represent yourself at times not really that good, to put it simply. Well, I've given Wuthering Waves a fair shot. Like, I play the game for the combat. I think the combat's decent, right? Sometimes it's more challenging in Genshin. It's more difficult. I'll agree with that. But as far as the game, like, I'm giving Wuthering Waves, in my opinion, okay. But bias, that's a lot of people don't get to the deeper problem. Bias happens for a reason, right? The reason why I'm biased towards Genshin is because I think I enjoy aspects of Genshin more. It's not the other way around. It's like they're saying the chicken and the egg thing, right? I just joined the stream right now. Ta, what's up, Ta? All right, let me see. Oh man, there's a lot of comments I missed. Hold on. My problem with Durin, it's mostly an event locked storyline. I'm really not sure how they can't tie something that big back into the main quest. It might not be an event storyline. It might actually just be like a Archon Quest prelude or interlude or something. I don't know. That's what they call it. Not prelude, but interlude. Definitely get an SSD. Well, I have an SSD, but It's not an. I need bigger space. I need a 1 terabyte or larger. Um, is Wuthering Waves such a baby game that it needs protection? I mean, I don't know. They defend it a lot, right? Because they feel like Genshin is too threatening. That's why Wuthering Waves gets a lot of defense. Is the threat? They feel threatened all the time, I guess. Kokomi hate was crazy, and I still go hard pity to get her. I don't have Kokomi. She was the only reason I didn't roll for Kokomi is because I spent all my wishes on Raiden, and then I just never rolled for Kokomi because I was always wanted a different character when Kokomi was coming around. But anyways, yeah, people capitalizing on Genshin hate is way more. Yeah, like people. Um, hold on, this guy. What's his name? Saint. His name is Saint Tontus or something. What is it? Saint Tontus. This guy.
Engine is a danger. See you?
Okay, so big Wuthering Waves content creator. He blew up in the past little while when Wuthering Waves released. Only 106 videos, almost 14K subs. Most of his popular videos, shitting on Genshin. This video, it looks like a Wuthering Waves video, but it's all about shitting on Genshin. It's all about shitting on Genshin. This whole video. So, I don't know what this guy's saying about monetizing hate towards Wuthering Waves. 152K views, 10K likes. All he's talking about is how Genshin sucks. Genshin's dog shit game, and how the devs suck, the game sucks, and that's all he talks about in the whole video. So it's like, who's monetizing? It's just totally backwards. Like, this is what I don't understand. It's like, show me a Genshin content creator that's sitting there all day talking about how bad Wuthering Waves is. That's not happening. They're not doing that. They don't even acknowledge its existence. Like Ziox doesn't do it. Ziox doesn't sit there and talk about how shit Wuthering Waves is. He's not doing it. He's probably the biggest Genshin creator, right? Like this guy, look at all his videos. He's talking about Genshin. He just talks about Genshin. He's not talking about Wuthering Waves, okay? So this idea that they're monetizing, like people are trying to find ways to monetize Wuthering Waves hate. It's the other way around. They're monetizing Genshin hate. All right, so there's very much a difference in the presentation of, hey, the game you like playing is dying. Wake up already. There's so much wrong with that game, and a lot of people in the community are toxic. Well, which game is that? Because you could say that about, like, if you browse Twitter all day, yeah, you're going to find toxic people talk about Genshin. It depends where you're looking, really, in comparison to basically just pointing out things that you don't like about the game. But okay, so he's trying to say that I think the Wuthering Waves community is toxic. I'm not saying they're toxic. They're being factually incorrect and misleading. Because I'm just pointing out what you just said. Monetizing Wuthering Waves hate is not a thing. I just pointed 2 examples: the Soulless guy and the Saint Tontus guy. Can you give me an example of where is someone making big views, getting sponsors on their videos, and most of their content is shitting on Wuthering Waves? Can you please point me to a content creator like that? And the fact of it is, there is none. There's nobody. Like I said, I made 15 subs on my video about Wuthering Waves, and I got a lot of dislikes. People didn't like this video because I'm saying, look, Wuthering Waves isn't the greatest game, and it's not all it's cracked up to be. It has some issues, it has some good parts, and it needs to improve more. Wuthering Waves players don't like that message. They want to hear that their game is the best thing since sliced bread. Okay? So this video, I can't see the dislikes. it has about the same amount of dislikes as it has likes, and I only gained 15 subs. So I'm not monetizing my Wuthering Waves hate. I'm making videos that I think are honest and okay. Well, I'm talking a little about the gotcha revenue chart. Who knows if it's factual? It's all over the place. But the point is, it shows a trend, right? The gotcha chart shows a trend. But anyways, Artaneki, the guy was farming Genshin hate, and now he's farming Mr. Beast and KSI hate. Yeah, like Artaneki, like these guys leveled up. Artaneki. Is that how you spell his name? Oh, whoops. Artan. Oh, he changed his name. Arto. Okay, so Arto, now he just doesn't do Genshin hate. He's got 51k subs. Now it's KSI. 802k. 875k. 1.2 million views. What the fuck? Holy shit. So this is what a Genshin hater levels up to. So where's the Wuthering Waves hate monetizer that leveled up? This is what I don't understand. So this is the Genshin hate guy, and now he's leveled up to something else. But all of a sudden, it's like we have to monetize on Wuthering. Come on, man. This is bullshit, man. It's like this is why I don't take these arguments seriously. It's because it's not true. It's just factually not true. So, anyways, I think that was the end of the comment, though. All right, let's see. Well, this was not the video. This video, and it took so much editing, and it's not even that great. It's not even like super edited. It's just time consuming. And I think that was the end of the comment, though. Yeah, so it's basically just saying like, no, it's because, and that's the exact reason why, what he's basically pointing out there is another video that I made about Wuthering Waves is cooked. Wuthering Waves content creators are pathetic. But the reason why I said that, made this video, is because he's pointing out something that is the exact same thing. It's this guy, Void Enigma, he's just straight up lying. So like these people just straight up lie, right? But I don't know. People are more interested in seeing lies, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But open up any Sticks poll that includes Genshin. Read the comments. Bro's whole audience is Genshin haters. I'm not joking. Go open up his latest poll and read the top comments. It's probably all comments. Hold on a sec. Sticks, I already recommended his channel. He's another. Yeah, I know Sticks, right? Sticks used to talk about MMOs, which is funny. We were talking about MMOs. But then Sticks, he pivoted towards gacha when he realized MMOs are a dead genre. Genshin Impact just left gacha players speechless. What is this about? 12 hours ago? What is this? Okay, what do you, let's have a prediction on the replies. What do you think of Genshin Impact? 30 replies, 30 hate comments. Are you ready for this? 30 replies. Oh, wow, okay. I'm a day one player and I'm still enjoying it. I know it has the issues that other gacha games. I know it has issues and other gacha games can be better at certain things, but Genshin has everything that has me still entertained and to be able to enjoy it. I wasn't expecting this, honestly. Dev sucks. Okay, so it's not all hate comments. Great, but I stopped playing gacha after playing real games. Okay, sure. I'm in love with the IP, but the game needs new life breathed into it. Hoenn knows how to market their games, but still they need to make an offline game like Wukong. Let me experience real game, please. But the thing with, okay, see, this is what people don't understand about live service games. is the reason why why some people like live service games is because it's an ongoing thing, right? I can invest myself into one thing, and I don't have to worry about constantly buying a new $70 game or $60 game. Anyways, he's another person capitalizing on hate. His AI thumbnails threw me off. And I have to say, the soulless guy says, I don't hate Genshin, and then proceeds to say in comments that Genshin players only play the game because of the sunk cost fallacy. I'm going to make a video on sunk cost fallacy. Um, yeah, the sunk cost fallacy thing is just whatever. Oh, bro, the second latest we did is Curl Listen They Care for Sticks, or was that for someone else? Curl never stops listening and rewarding players. Okay, sure. I mean, look, guys, the Wuthering Waves thing, like, I rolled for Shorekeeper and I have, what, 6K gems? That's normal. A lot of people think, and I have the monthly pass. So, and I've done all the events. So it's like, they give you wishes, but it's like, it's not a staggering amount of wishes they give you. Whereas I'm gonna log out of WuWa. Hold on. Yeah, if I'm gonna stream, I want to be able to play Genshin, and I want to maybe Xenophone Zero sometimes. So I have to be able to install them because I don't have the space on my hard drive right now. My hard drive's fucked. Like I'll be honest. Like look at this shit, man. It's already I have 24 gigs left. I only have a 500 gigabyte SSD. So and making videos and the podcast and the it takes up way too much space, man. Um, but yeah. So, guys, let me read the comments. Hating on Genshin is a good way to get traction on your channel as a new gotcha CC, but it cultivates the worst kind of community. Yeah, I agree. Oh my god, he annoys me so much, but he's the biggest WuWa shill. He said WuWa has the best artifact system. Wuthering Waves artifact system? That's crazy, man. I still think it's Genshin. I don't know, because of the off piece, but the reason why they say that is because you can farm echoes. And it's like, but I don't want to, it's just too time consuming. My 3-year experience in Genshin co-op, only 1 to 2 people have been toxic. To me, I almost met more than 3,000 players in co-op. Yeah, I don't do co-op in Genshin that much, but I haven't really had a problem with anyone in co-op. I have been doing co-op in Genshin, but I haven't had a problem with them. Capitalizing WoW hate is a funny take, almost delusional. Yeah, I know. It's like I don't see it. It's not happening. I don't. There's literally no one that I can think of out there capitalizing on Wuthering Waves hate. That doesn't make any sense. Why do you think Tectone does what he does? Genshin hate is a farm like no other. Yeah, of course. That's what Tectone literally made a career out of hating Genshin Impact. Like he's slowed down. He's stopped talking about it recently. Like he's kind of moved on a little bit, Tectone. But Tectone for like at least 2 years, his main content was why Genshin is bad, and he literally made a career out of hating Genshin. Like that's how crazy. Like think about how crazy that is, man. That is wild, man. Like you can become a millionaire just by hating Genshin Impact. Okay, that's just crazy, man. These people foster Genshin hate and spread cruel positivity, and then go off to make a gotcha award show. Yeah, I saw that. They made like their own little gotcha award show. The Artaneki guy. I think it was Artaneki, or was it the other guy? Um, there's another guy who the same accent. What's his name? Forget his name already. Um, Well, it's a European accent guy. I forget his name, but yeah, 2 terabyte SSD. I need something like that. Yeah, they're like Genshin sucks. They spread curl positivity. And they're like, oh, we're gonna have our own Gotcha award show. And then they're like, well, guess who wins Wuthering Waves? Guess who wins Game of the Year? Gotcha Game of the Year. Of course, it's Wuthering Waves, right? And then it's all about like, yeah, it's just stupid. By the way, I want to add something to Genshin versus WuWa discussion. Rare case, Genshin runs fine on Linux. WuWa is unplayable. I tried it back on Windows, but after switching, I couldn't even if I wanted. Can we talk about? I don't know anything about that. I've never used Linux, but yeah, I mean Unity. I guess it's something with Unity it works. Can we talk about the storage piece of HSR? I haven't played HSR in a long time, so yeah, they did something with Genshin. Steorg, that's his name. Steorg. Was it Steorg? Or was it Artaneki that made that award show? Uh, I can't keep up with Z. Yeah, ZZ gets a lot of hate. It's what I find that's weird. Um, I feel like there's a divide, and it's Wuthering Waves and HSR versus Genshin and Zenless Zone Zero. But Zenless Zone Zero is kind of like off in a corner, and it doesn't get as much hate as Genshin does. But I feel like the Wuthering Waves and Hawkeye Star Rail community hate Zenless Zone Zero as well. Like they hate Zenless Zone Zero and they hate Genshin. And it's like it feels like Zenless Zone Zero and Genshin are like the games to hate from Hoyoverse. So I don't know. um, why don't we have new Gunners in Wuthering Waves? Yeah, they haven't made. And honestly, what's funny about this is Chi is my favorite character in Wuthering Waves. Like her playstyle, it's fun, but they aren't making new Gunners. I don't know. Um, the Gotcha Awards show, yeah, Gotcha Game Awards 2024. It was Steorg. It wasn't Artaneki. Uh, and yeah, this whole show. I watched it with someone else, and the whole time it's about like they give Genshin awards, but then um the game of the year goes to Wuthering Waves, and then Hawkeye Star Rail wins best overall gotcha game and stuff like that. So yeah, it's funny because I play Zenless Zone Zero. I like Zenless Zone Zero, but honestly now Zenless is kind of it has a lot of downtime. Like especially when there's no content, like there's honestly nothing to do for a long time in Zenless. Like yeah, it kind of feels like it's good, but it's like I don't know. It feels like it has even less content than Genshin during its downtime. Um, but I like Zenless Zero. I like it. It's good. I like the characters. The story is like it's not too serious, and yeah. But yeah, guys. I didn't expect to stream this long, honestly. But I appreciate you guys watching. Like if I stream more, um, I'll I'll make a post saying yeah I'm gonna stream more, and I'll make a Discord for it, and then I will uh yeah, and then I want to stream different games too, not just Wuthering Waves. Um, I have a Genshin account that like I could what I was thinking of doing if I was gonna stream is play like a new Genshin account and like try and save up or like try and play from a new account. Like I kind of don't want to do it though. I do have a Genshin account that has like Wander. For some reason, I have Wanderer on it and Navia. Like I was playing it for a little bit, but look, guys, Genshin there's so much stuff to like do if you make a new account and exploring all the chests and doing all the quests, man. Like I like Genshin, but thinking about playing it again. I don't know about that because it's just such a massive game. It takes way too long. So I don't even know you're streaming before coming in here. Yeah. So, I mean, I rarely stream. Like I've streamed like 3 times in the past, I don't know, year. So I barely stream. And it's just been recently too. Linux playability is only an anti-cheat thing. Windows is basically simulated. Genshin used to need a patch, but ever since like 3.7, it just works. The anti-cheat doesn't care anymore. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Zenless Zone Zero has good music. The Caesar, that was good. I mean, they do funny stuff like the Bernice thing. They do the Bernice thing. Zenless Zone Zero does some funny stuff sometimes. Where's my? Wait, what the hell? Uh, okay, Steorg is somewhat better than others. I don't know. I don't watch Steorg that much, honestly. You know what? VXV Fiction. Do any of you guys watch VXV Fiction? Hey, thanks, Tension. How'd you throw me off track earlier? I don't remember. But I like reading comments and replying to comments because it's just it's yeah, VXV Fiction, I don't know. He just straight up lies about certain things. Like he just straight up like it's untrue what some of the things he's saying. Like he was saying in Genshin, the elixir thing, that free to plays had to wait 4 patches to get 1 goblet, which is doesn't make any sense. It's completely factually untrue. And Genshin has the amount of contents of at least 3 Grand Blue. Oh, Grand Blue Relink, man, that was a fun game. That was honestly Sai Games. Their biggest mistake was not making Grand Blue Relink a live service game. I wish I would drop Wuthering Waves instantly right now if Grand Blue Relink was live service and I'd play that because Grand Blue Relink way more fun. Like the boss battles, super fun. The characters, way more abilities. Like some of them had real skill. Like what's it called? What's his name? Siegfried. Like you had to time your attacks. The parrying was really tight. Grand Blue Relink was one of the fun game, man. Like Grand Blue Relink, biggest mistake. It should have been live service. I really wish that game was not just one and done because now there's no new content. I stopped. It was fun and worth every single penny. Yeah, Grand Blue Relink. I didn't go hard like a lot of people. I put like but I put like 150 hours in Grand Blue Relink. But yeah, Grand Blue Relink. That's the kind of game I want. Like, man, one of the best games this year, Grand Blue Relink. And I yeah, maybe one day Psy Games will just wake up and not and realize that they had a gold mine. See, I watched Red New. That's funny because Red New was the guy who I was saying that he was saying that Genshin in combat sucks, right? He doesn't like Genshin's combat, right? And I was saying to Red New, hey man, the thing with like you don't like Genshin combat, that's understandable, but people do like Genshin's combat. Like it's a thing. Like Ziox gets a lot of views for his meta videos. Like there's Jello Impact, there's Sevi, there's like I Win to Lose. Like these content creators get a lot of views for characters, but he was saying like people aren't interested in pulling characters for their kits. It's all about the story and stuff like that. But that's just not true. Like people want Jelonin because she's good at meta, right? She's a good meta character. So I was saying but Red Moon just doesn't like the comment in Genshin. I was saying to him. Yeah, like live service can be good. It doesn't mean because it's live service it has to be bad. Like you know what I mean? It doesn't correlate. They never consider the amount of readily available contents for the player. It's as if these people only play games for the pulls and gambling. I mean, as some people are like that, right? Like, there's still the gotcha, like, there's still the gotcha mindset where, like, Fobmaster, he plays because he likes gotcha, man. He likes pulling for units. He just most important thing to Fob is if it's a waifu and it's a character he likes, but WuWa Combat sucks because it's the same old hack and slash from other games. There's nothing innovative. If I want to play a hard game, I'd rather play Souls games. I mean, yeah, there's that, right? Like WuWa really isn't that innovative with his combat, but for a gotcha game, I guess a free to play game, you could say. He's by no means saying the combat is bad. It's just not his style. He prefers ZZZ's combat. He enjoys Genshin's story so far in the world itself. Yeah, I mean, he was saying like, look, Red New's cool. Like Red New, I watch Red New. Like I'll watch him, and I'll agree with his Zenless Zone Zero takes. Right, I like Zenless Zone Zero's combat too. Um, but the thing is, when I was talking to him, at least in his chat, he was saying what he was saying was that he doesn't think that Genshin has a big combat scene as part of the community. And I was trying to say that I did enjoy watching Red New play the TCG, by the way, too. Like I was like, because that was kind of fun. Like his watching, even though look Genshin TCG, I'm not super huge into it, but it was kind of fun watching him play the TCG for some reason. I don't know why. But what I was saying to Red New is that there is a scene in Genshin that likes the meta and likes the combat, right? But he was saying to me that he doesn't think that's a thing, and I'm like, okay, I mean that's sure, but like I'm saying, Red New, that's fine. I mean, he doesn't like it's not his style, but um, yeah, I mean, oh, Zenless Zone Zero is it's got good comment. Mr. Poke's pretty. I like Mr. Poke. I mean, with the Genshin TCG, I just do all the content with it, but I haven't really. Oh man, I have a because I play Magic the Gathering, so with it's hard to get into other card games when you kind of already. I mean, in my opinion, Magic the Gathering is peak. As far as card games go, I mean, it's hard to beat Magic the Gathering, man. Like that's why Genshin TCG, I'm not too into it because for card games, I have a standard, I guess. Yu-Gi-Oh! I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh! So I don't know how to play it. Hey Todd, that's a. I was gonna say that, man. TCG has more depth to his combat than HSR ever had. You know what? In some ways, and I know a lot of people are gonna, they would like totally flip out, but in some ways, it kind of does. Like Genshin TCG kind of has more complexity as far as decision making goes. Like deck building, decision making. A lot of people get pissed off at the comment, but it kind of does. Yeah, I mean HSR combat depth is not a thing. I never really thought it was a thing, and I thought I would get more hate for that, but and you don't have to spend money at all. Yeah, TCG's free. He would really know. To be fair, he wouldn't really know to be fair. He's really fairly new to Genshin. Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, I didn't really rail on him because Red News kind of new to Genshin, right? He doesn't really understand the scene. I also believe it was fun to watch him play TCG because he genuinely enjoyed it. He's a huge card game fan, so it resonated with him. Yeah, I liked when Redney was playing Genshin TCG. For some reason, but he hasn't been playing it recently. I don't know if he's going to play it again. But I liked watching him play Genshin TCG. That was fun. Um, Genius Invocation has PvP. That only puts it above many things as far as depth and mind games go. Yeah, I mean, when you add a human element into it, then card games become way more complex, right? But the thing with Genshin TCG, look, you guys, none of you played Magic the Gathering before, right? I'm assuming you don't know what Magic the Gathering is. I'm not. Um, Genshin TCG, when you compare it to Honkai Star Rail as a turn-based game, honestly, Genshin TCG has more complexity because there's so many different card combinations and deck combinations. Um, and but right, but the thing is, for me, the most complex card game I think in existence is Magic the Gathering, and I've gotten into Magic, and I've been playing Magic since I was a kid. So I'd love to do duels here. I mean, we could, um, we could do TCG stuff, but I would have to install Genshin on my computer, and that would be, uh, yeah, that would take a while. I'd have to figure that out or get a new hard drive. Well, it's getting more complex now because they have like discard decks and stuff like that. Like in the Genshin TCG, and there's like discard builds, and then there's and the reaction system helps a lot with making certain things viable. And then there's like the stall decks. That's okay. You can you can tell a TCG is good or is decent, I would say, by it having archetypes. So the fact that Genshin TCG has archetypes, like a stall deck, or there's like really aggressive decks that try and win in a few shots, like they go all out, uh, and then how balanced they can balance it better than like if it's an actual card game that prints cards, it's hard to balance because you have to ban cards. Instead, in Genshin TCG or a digital card game, you can balance cards by reworking the card. And they've done that before, right? Like I remember the Jet card was really powerful. And they're like, oh, this is too strong. So they had to like rework Jet and stuff like that. Right. So they changed her price and what she did. So HSR HSR is a very simplistic turn-based game with very high production value. Like HSR, if it didn't have the production value, like the really good music production, the high quality animations, and like like the set, like Panaconi, it looks good, and you know what I mean. Like it has all this really good production value. If HSR, if you stripped all that away, that's why in my video, um, I say why I'm uninstalling Honkai Star Rail. I say, wait, where is it? Where is it? Where did I put this? Hold on. In my video, I say it's it's a cake with a lot of icing. And and the thing with Hawkeye Star Rail is if you take all this high production quality value away from it, you'll see that the bones of it, there's not much meat to it, right? Like, it's just, I mean, okay, Golden Gears and Simulated Universe, those modes, maybe there's a little bit of meat there, but that's about it. Like, that's it, right? But but even that stuff is like, it's just you're playing RNG for buffs, right? In Golden Gears and stuff like that. So but anyways, yeah, cake with a lot of icing, and that's one of the things I um where somewhere here, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I specifically recorded all this footage on auto battle to show that you can clear this content. You don't have to do anything. In my account, I was E0 Firefly, E0 Ron May, and then Harmony make characters a free characters. So you don't need strong characters. You just auto battle. You don't have to do anything. Like the strategy. There's not much strategy, and that's why I didn't get into it. So uh, where the hell is the analogy I make? There it is. There it is. See, I even put it in the video. It's style over substance, right? It's it's a cake out of icing, man. That's basically what it is. And honestly, this is still to my. A lot of people think I'm a Wuthering Waves hater. This video got the most views on my channel, and I'm way more harsh against Hawkeye Star Rail than I am against Wuthering Waves. So, anyways, like I said, I don't want to trash talk Hawkeye Star Rail too much because honestly, look, I'm gonna be honest. If I'm gonna have, I don't know. I really think I'm not into like bashing games I don't care about anymore. I guess I could say, right? So I was thinking, like, do I really want to be a gotcha drama channel? I was thinking about getting into Neverness to Everness when that comes out, but that's gonna be next year sometime. I mean, HSR has its moments, but personally, I got burnt out of the sheer amount of content. I couldn't handle it alongside full-time Genshin. Okay, hear me. Okay, what's up? Ta. NTE looks okay to me. Neverness to Everness. I'm worried about the open world and the city just being a fancy set piece, and there not being actually much to do. Because so far that's what it looks like. Like, is there going to be consequences in the open world? Like, first of all, you can't run over people in NTE, and the reason why running over people is good in those type of games, and I'm not okay. That sounds terrible, but in Grand Theft Auto or something like that, in Grand Theft Auto, there's consequences for you to run over someone. Like the cops get called on you and stuff like that. But in NTE, you can't. I'm worried about the consequences of the open world, and it doesn't look like there's going to be many. So yeah, that's another thing. The character designs in NTE aren't that great. Honestly, there's only really one or a couple. Neverness to Everness. But I was thinking, if I was going to get into more content creation, then I would like maybe hop on the Neverness to Everness train, because that's always good. Like if you hop on a new game that's coming out, like if I hopped on the Neverness to Everness train, what the hell is this video? Also, what the hell is this? This looks ridiculous, dude. Oh, is this cosplayers? Okay. But if I uh yeah, if I was to get into content creation, I don't like this character. This character design looks bad. Like, come on. Like this thing, I don't know. Like this, it's like Flea, but infinitely worse. This character is like the only okay character design, right? Like she is okay. Uh, at least I think, right? I don't know why I have this here. this, this guy, look at this guy smiling, man. He's smiling, man. Okay, so like this character, I think her design is decent as far as designs go. This one's the big titty monster, right? She's got a huge chest, which is fine. I'm into that. But the thing is, like her overall design, it's not really complicated. It's not really, it's kind of no frills if you think about it. Um, but yeah, like my worry about Neverness to Everness is that this open world is going to be like a lot of buildings are going to be no entry, like you can't enter them, and I don't want to doom this game because I'm going to play it, but a little bit worried. I'll say I say I'm a little bit cautious. I'm hoping there's something substantial enough to do in the open world, right? Like you know, like going around collecting chests and stuff in Genshin is fine, but it's also like there's collectibles. There's now they're adding bosses and stuff. Uh, what's it called? Um, but I feel like I guess I'm worried that like a lot of these buildings you won't be able to enter them. Um, it's just not going to have like there's. It looks good. I like this city. It looks good. Uh, that's one of the things about Hottest Studio. They know how to make their environments look good, but what's there to do, right? That's what I'm a little bit worried about. So hopefully it's enough content, but we'll see. I don't know. Um, but so far, at least it's coming out. At least it's a thing because Project Mugen just doesn't fucking exist anymore. Like Project Mugen is dead, I guess. I mean, who knows what project like anyway, so this is the game that's gonna move in and take over Project Mugen's spot, right? But maybe Project Mugen is like waiting for this game to come out to see what this game does wrong, and then Project Mugen will learn from this game. Hopefully, I don't know. Maybe I'm. I don't even know if these games learn from each other anymore. But um, it really all depends on what there is to do in this open world. I guess you could say, right? Because if they tie some kind of game mechanics to the open world, and there's a reason to go around and drive around, like you encounter a boss here, but like like this, right? There's a boss here, but it's like, is that what else is there to do, right? Okay, you fight this boss, obviously, and then there was the you go into like a different dimension here randomly in the city or something. But how is the progression going to be? Is the combat going to be actually difficult? Because we don't know how it feels right yet. So we'll see. I don't know. Like I'm saying, I will definitely play this game, and uh, I'm not 100% optimistic about it, but I'm not gonna doom it. I'm saying I'm like 70% optimistic and 30% worried, but we'll see. I don't know. I'll definitely play it. So let me see. Read the comments now. I just hope the game does more have a community, same community like Wuthering Waves. Well, a lot of tower fantasy people will be playing Neverness to Everness. I'm hoping that it's not just a game that consists of comparing itself to Genshin every 5 seconds, because that's just honestly that's you're not gonna legitimize yourself by comparing yourself to Genshin every 5 seconds. And if Neverness to Everness does that, then it's, and as far as I'm concerned, then because a lot of people they will use Genshin as a scapegoat, right? They'll be like, well, you'll give valid criticisms towards these games, but then they'll be like, well, Genshin's bad, Genshin's bad, Genshin's bad. So it's like these people use Genshin as a scapegoat. So if this game avoids the constant Genshin comparisons, then that's good, because there's no reason for you to like. It's not even. It doesn't. It's there's no reason to compare it to Genshin. It's a modern city setting. There's car driving. Why would you even compare it to Genshin? Because there's 4 anime characters and it has action combat. That's literally the only comparison you can make. So this community needs to stay away from the Genshin comparison, because it's not as much of a boom to that these people think it is. If they sit there and they're like, "Well, Genshin sucks, Genshin sucks," these people think it's a good thing to have that, but it's actually not. So, um, anyways, HSR Power Creep was an actual speed run there. The investment I did in my Jing Liu feels like it went to a black hole, because I can't use the I my Jing Liu was just garbage at the end. When I had Firefly and Acheron, it was like, why would I even use Jing Liu anymore? I was a Jing Yuan main from day one into Penacony. Oh, okay. Well, I was more into Kafka. Uh, Even when I tried using her in the current MOC, she took 7 cycles to clear. Oh, wow. So Jing Liu fell off that hard, eh? No loading screen when going inside a building is a W. That's good. I mean, yeah, like I'm saying, I mean, see, if you look at this city, they do a really good job with designing the city, man. Like it just looks good. Like Hottest Studio knows how to design environments. Like even with Tower of Fantasy, like nowadays Tower of Fantasy, like when Tower of Fantasy first launched, it kind of sucked. Kind of was, it did suck. But now, for some reason, the world designers at Hottest Studio, like this city design, it looks pretty decent, honestly. So surely they'll have player housing. Yeah, they already do. I'm wary of Project Mugen just because it's from NetEase. Yeah, I don't even know. Project Mugen is probably not going to be a thing. Like at this point, Project Mugen is vaporware. Hold up, is this anime? I haven't seen Jujutsu Kaisen. I kind of want to watch that too. Made a mobile game in Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, I mean, that's Wuthering Waves. Or who? Well, the Wuthering Waves is an Unreal Engine, right? I don't remember. I think it's. Is it Unreal Engine 4? I don't know. Yeah, I want to watch. The 2 animes I want to watch are Free Ren and Jujutsu Kaisen. And I want to get on that because. Uh, but I want to watch Free Ren more. So eventually I'll get onto that. But guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna go because it's been a while, and it's getting pretty late. So I kind of just want to relax, but I appreciate you guys watching. If I stream more, I will notify. I'll make a little video saying I have a Discord server and I'm going to start streaming more. And yeah, so I'll put it in my videos. So yeah, if I stream more, I will let you guys know. So thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you. Tuh. Tuh. But yeah, and I want to play more. But if I stream more, I definitely want to play other games than just Wuthering Waves for sure. So, all right, guys, take it easy. I'll see you later. Peace out.